when they go, "Here comes the dog, strong and brave. Here comes the dog, you're lightweight," and they fall in the hole. She used that
The
bowl.
little chalk outline of the fish.
She used that bowl as the bowl to serve me death pudding. That's what it's made of.
Death pudding?
Death pudding.
Hello and welcome to Band Yap. I am Alexa Sanchez.
And I'm Jose Sanchez.
We have another guest with us today, and it is Mr. Zachary Sims.
Zachary or Zach?
I was going to ask that question.
Like, which one do you prefer?
Zachary?
Feel like in certain situations it's Zachary, and certain it's just Zach. So in this situation, I think Zach is fine.
Do you walk around with a shirt that has the Sims logo just on the front? Like, that
No,
should be
but
a thing.
If I did, I would say Sims, I was made before the video game, is what I would say.
Maybe that's what you need to do. Children, if you are listening to this, that's what you need. Mr. Sims, like, face or like full figure on the front of a shirt and put the little triangle above him and like live the life of Sims. That'd be great.
I have a big confession.
Maybe that should be your marching show for
I've
next year.
played The Sims.
Neither have I.
You know what? Neither have I. All three of us haven't. It's okay.
Yeah. It's just like,
Okay.
I don't know.
I was worried about that.
I have one life to live, and it is not in that.
Some people are super into it.
Yeah.
No, I have played Animal Crossing. Does that count for something?
Well, that's very Sims-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I was not very good at that.
No. So Zach,
Yes.
coming back to you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background, and just like who is Zachary Sims?
Well, that's complicated. Sure, I can give you some. I grew up in Charlotte, Texas. It's a small town south of San Antonio, about an hour south. Had a really great program in high school. Was really motivated and encouraged my director. His name's Ralph Unger. He was definitely a big impact on my life. Made the ATSSB All-State Band 3 years, sophomore, junior, senior year.
What years? What years?
04, 05, 06.
Which band were you in?
Symphonic, and then concert, and then symphonic.
Okay, so you were with I think you were with
James
me.
Keane,
Yeah,
Fred
you and I were in
Allen.
the same band.
Oh, cool.
I was a
James Keane?
senior. Yeah, with James Keane.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty great.
Yeah, that was the concert with when they brought Frederick Fennell.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was a young podunk kid from a podunk town that had no clue what was going on. I was just like, who is this old guy coming up on stage? And there was like a horn player next to me that was like, you're never going to guess. This is a huge deal. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I majored in music, and I was like, wow, okay, that was a big deal. I had no clue what was going on. But yeah.
So you're a horn
So-
player.
I am, yeah. I attempt to play horn. I do. So made it 3 years in high school. Majored in music ed at Texas Tech University. Met my wife there, made incredible friends there. And then started teaching out in a little town called Sabinal. It's a little over an hour west of San Antonio. So if you've ever tubed the Frio River, most people come from San Antonio and turn right in Sabinal, in the town.
Is it
So
is that the way it's pronounced? Because I've always heard it as Sabinal.
Sabinal, it is not Sabinal. People will try to say Sabinal, and it's like, no, that's definitely
Sabinal.
not it. Sabinal. I think it's kind of tomato based on where you're at. Even the people in the town kind of pronounce it a little differently based on who you are. So
Okay.
Well, we actually happen to know someone who is is she still directing there?
No, she's
No.
not. But my first job,
Dawn, right? That's a small world. Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting story. So when I first got done student teaching, I got done in, I guess, December of 2010. There were no jobs available in December. The housing crisis had really happened, and it was impacting the stock market, and a whole bunch of stuff was going on. And in about March and April, there were 7 jobs on the ATSSB job board total
Whoa.
in the whole state. It was slim pickings. And one that I looked at pretty extensively was Ozona. And back then it was like starting out $55,000. And I was like, wow, that's incredible pay for a first year teacher. And it also included a house with like some of the utilities. I mean, it was a sweet gig. Now, Arizona's literally middle of nowhere, so I mean, there were some drawbacks to it. But the other one was in Sabinal, and I applied, and I got a phone call, and I couldn't answer it because I was in class. And there was a voicemail from the principal. Her name was Sean Johnston. And she said, hey, Zach, this is Sean Johnston. I'm the principal here at Seminole High School. I appreciate you filling out an application, but we're going to go a different direction. And, I was crestfallen at that point, but I said, I don't think I'm okay with that. So I called her back and I talked to her and I said, Miss Johnston, I said, I appreciate your energy with this, but I said, I'm a small school kind of guy. I went to a small school. I have student taught in a small school. I'm currently teaching for peanuts at a small school. I'm so connected into small school things. And I know you want somebody who's had experience with this. But I think you owe it to yourself to at least give me an interview. And she's like, I like your persistence and let's have an interview. And so I went to the interview and got all gussied up and did my best and I guess showed out. And halfway through the interview, I can kind of tell she just kind of flipped a switch part of the way through. And just kept talking about myself and all the things I'd done in college and in high school and who I was connected to and everything else. And so she eventually took me to go meet the superintendent and we went from there. So the reason why Stephen Henry's important is understandably so. Sean Johnson knew Stephen Henry. She's also from Sabinal. And so he was telling her, rightfully so, you need to pick somebody who's had experience doing this. You don't need to pick somebody fresh out of college, which for almost all intensive purposes was the right answer. So anyway, so I got the job, turned it around. So I know Stephen and Dawn. Yeah. So Dawn ended up coming and working there. Probably 3 or 4, maybe 2 years after I left in Sabinal. So I know her and I know Stephen, and Stephen's mom and dad were some of my biggest supporters when I got there. And they came up and introduced themselves and they're like, yeah, our son, Stephen Henry. And I was like, I know who that is. They're like, yeah, my son, Stephen Henry, he's really great. He's really great. And I was like, well, I'm appreciative of that. And it's funny, when I first met him, he's like, Zach, I have to tell you something. You've done a great job with this band. But whenever when Sean was talking to me about this job, I told her, do not hire anyone who doesn't have at least 5 years of experience. And so he's like, I'm real sorry I was going against you in that interview, but now that I know you, I know it obviously worked out well. But that's a fun story.
So how many years were you over at Sabinal?
I was there for 5 years.
We're going to have to send this to Stephen.
I know. Well, so I'm really connected to Stephen because he
was
also
at Midway,
taught,
right?
Well, he was also at Industrial before that.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
And all my cousins went through his band program.
Okay. Because you're from Sinton, right?
I'm from Sinton.
Yeah.
And so I have lots of family in that area. So, it's the band directing world is extremely small. It's very large, but it is also very small. So can you tell us a little bit about your time at Sabinal and some of the things that you probably didn't realize you were getting yourself into and how you kind of overcame those things?
Pretty much all of it. Every bit of it. Now that I've gone through it, I wouldn't have changed it for me, but I don't know if I necessarily suggest first-year teachers to come out of college and go be a head band director. Like it's a lot. There were so many days and there are still days I don't know what I'm doing. But in Sabinal, there were so many days that I just had no clue. This is how I started getting connected with people, is I would just call people and be like, I literally don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. How do I do this? This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm seeing. How do I fix this? How do I help them see this? How do I do this? How do I say this? I mean, just all of it, and Tech was a great university to go to that provided, I would argue, one of the best music education backgrounds in the state, but it just, college doesn't prepare you for real world experiences. And so I just kept calling people and calling people and calling people. And, there are so many wonderful people who have just been such a huge uplifting part of my life. Gerald Babbitt is somebody who I called all the time. John Rauschuber, when he was at Fredericksburg, was somebody who I just all the time. Ralph Unger, my high school band director. Manuel Romo was the director at Jordanton, and he was who I student taught with. So, I mean, those four, I called one of them at least once a day. I would literally get done with Monday and go, now what? I don't know what to do. And so I just called them pretty much nonstop. God, if that was the time where we started to pay for phone bills, I would have been broke. It was just a wild time. Didn't know what was going on, didn't know how to do it, didn't know how to change it, didn't know how to speak to kids the right way, all of it. And so we started there. The year before we got there, they didn't go to marching contest. They weren't prepared. It would have been a bad situation. They were consistent 3s and 4s at concert and sight reading. And that's not necessarily based on the people who were there. It was just a tough situation. It was just tough. It wasn't because the people before me were bad directors or this or that. There was just one reason or another that it didn't ever quite work out with them. And so that first year, we somehow strung together a marching show. It was, oh man, I can tell you this. It was Fire Dance by Akey, A-K-E-Y. It used to be on the grade 1 list.
Yes.
And then
Rip.
we did the
Rip.
Yeah. Oh no, it's so good. It's a bop for sure. It's a vibe. It's all of it. It's so good. Yeah. No, it's so good. And it kind of worked on a marching field too.
Did you march in 5 for what?
There was one spot. How did we do it? Because it's 3 and then there's a measure of 2. 2 here. Then again, I don't remember how we did it. I don't know. And then we did the Chorale from Jupiter was our ballad. And then we did the Magnificent Seven to end it.
Oh, yes.
So do not ask me what the theme was. It was survival at that point, but that was
it was about rings. It was about rings. Fire dancing around a ring. Then you got Jupiter with this ring.
There we go.
Doesn't it have rings? No, it's just a giant. What that has a giant circle on it.
Yeah. Spherical. Spheres.
Yeah, spherical. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's right. All the planets are dying. Saturn's about to not. Yeah, Saturn's about to not have rings.
Yeah. It was wild, y'all. But hey, we got a 2-2-1 that year. Yeah. And that was back when the UIL rules, they had to take 2 bands to area contest no matter what. Well, the powerhouse at that time in our region was Nueces Canyon, Freddie Falcone, who's awesome, who's another guy. Oh, that's another one I have to thank. He's somebody who I called all the time. Oh my gosh. Just talked his ear off too. And so they were the powerhouse. They got a 1, easily advanced to area. Well, there were 4 other bands that got a 2. And they were all like a 2-1-2. There were 2 2s and a 1, all 4 of them. And so what had to happen is the judge's preference. They had to give a judge's preference on all the 4 that got a 2. And we were second out of that by 1 point. So we were almost to area my first year. And it still, I couldn't have done anything else at that point. I didn't know what was going on. But it's still one of those, what would have happened if, because the band that ended up, that was the one band that received a Division II that went on to area, they were the alternate to state by 1 point.
Wow.
So it was one of those oh man, what would have happened if, just talk about a dream to just go to state on your first year. It was so close to happening, but anyway, it's okay. It built character. But it was a wild first season, and that community, and Freddie Falcone, who was at Nueces Canyon, he was at Sabinal for a long time. He was there for a long time and had taken them and done really well in that setting, and done really well with them, and been to state marching contest and been to finals with them and everything else. So, yeah. And then we went to concert and sight reading. I think we got a 2-3-2, over programmed, which I'm kind of known for. Tend to,
live that life.
I did that
Yeah.
once, and then I've been terrified
Yeah.
ever since. So
yeah. So I tend to go a little bit. My mindset is I would much rather my students be better musicians and do that than go something easy and be absolutely perfect.
yeah,
It's definitely bit me in the butt sometimes, more than once. You'd think at some point I would learn, but I haven't yet. So I'm just gonna keep going with what we're doing. So yeah, Savannah was crazy. It was a
I
crazy
have a
time.
rare mid podcast correction. Jupiter does indeed have rings.
Oh, okay. So
Gas
I was about to say,
rings.
I was like, what? I'm pretty sure it has rings.
You're so
I
smart.
was like getting gaslit here. We watched enough Bluey.
I am so.
We have watched enough Bluey to know.
They
Yeah.
are faint, narrow rings, unlike Saturn, which has bright ice rings.
Okay.
They're
I
made
feel
of
better.
tiny pieces of.
I feel so much. That
I'm
is
so sorry.
such a weight.
To publicly apologize to you right now.
You feel
Such a weight that has
validated.
been lifted off my shoulder.
Honestly, Saturn is my favorite planet, but Mars is my favorite host planet.
Nice.
Zach, do you have a
Nice.
favorite planet?
Earth, because I'm on it. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry.
Do you?
Because I'm
Yeah,
alive on Earth.
It's Jupiter.
Okay.
It's because
Is it because of Bluey?
no, it's Jupiter because it's large and so am I.
Oh my God.
We gotta live that
Red
life.
giant?
Okay.
Vargas actually wrote that about me. Yeah, what?
Red.
Gotta put that in the program notes.
Nice.
Dedicated to
Nice.
Jose.
Nice.
Everyone says it's about Jupiter. It's actually
So
No.
okay, so after Sabaton, you spent 5 years there. You
did.
had a very successful time there. You turned that program around,
Yeah.
which has been kind of a theme we've had on this podcast, is just getting people who have like kind of turned programs around or have been really successful just in general because they want to hear those stories. So what led you to going to Shiner?
Well, I actually got kind of offered the job the year before I actually went to Shiner. So we made state our third year. So our first year we missed going to area and state by that narrow margin. My third year we made state. My fourth year, so that was when it was every other year. So the fourth year was not an advancing year. And at the end of that year in June, I got an email from the superintendent at Shiner, and he said, actually, do you know what it was? Actually, I don't think I got an email. Yes, I did. We were just looking at the job board, just cause, and we saw that Shiner was open, and we were like, oh man, Stephen Krapika, he's leaving. Oh my gosh, he's leaving on an advancing year. That's crazy. They just came off winning in 2013. That's nuts. Like, what happened? Everybody has to know. And so we're just like, whoa, that's crazy. And so Mr. Babbitt, who's somebody, he was the Texas Tech student teacher, like not liaison. What's the title? He was
like supervisor.
Advisor. Yeah,
Okay.
supervisor. There we go. And so he would make sure all the student teachers were doing okay and go check on you whenever you would teach and everything else. Well, he was the Texas Tech advisor or supervisor for the like San Antonio, Austin area. And so he knew me pretty well because I, again, called him often. Had come out to clinic my bands and sent recordings and all those things. So he knew me pretty well at that point. He said, hey, the superintendent at Shiner called me and he's asking me to help him find a good band director for the Shiner job. He's like, are you interested? He's like, I think he would be great there. And I said, Mr. Babbitt, that's interesting because Shiner is obviously a great name, a big name in the two-way world. That would be cool. I said, Mr. Babbitt, it's June. What? And it's an advancing year. No, and I'd be following Stephen Krapika. There's like 3 strikes on that, Mr. Babbitt. I was like, there's no way. I'm so honored that you would think of me, but I just said, there's no way. There's just none. And so that job didn't go to me that year. The person who got the job, I don't think was a very good fit. I believe they were told after the Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, that's one of the dangers of the job, honestly, is like trying to like find the right fit, because sometimes like it is very much so that like this person might have a great resume and everything else, but it's just not a great fit. And then trying to come in after somebody who's been like uber successful and like done other things. And then it's like, how do you follow that? And like, we talked to Mark Nicholson and like how he was able to navigate that. But like, and a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with that. So following somebody successful, I think you have to be really successful in yourself. And I would have not have put myself in that category yet. I was still very much young and yet really young and very green behind the ears. And I was not ready to do that just yet. And so the person who came in after Stephen Kripicka was a really bad fit. I just don't think it worked out that way. After the Thanksgiving break or at the Thanksgiving break, they were given the rest of their paycheck and said, don't come back the rest of the year.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy. So that happened. And so what ended up after that, the assistant director was then the head director. And then actually Alan Garcia, he's now at Brazos High School. He was working in the community, hadn't quite finished his degree. He was at TLU, or maybe he had finished a degree, something. He was just like one step away from being a full-fledged teacher. He was just working at the community, and they brought him in for the rest of the year to finish it out. And so in November, after we had just gone to state marching contest, Shiner did not advance that year. They were at area. They made a 1 at area. They were real like bottom, like 4 or 5. It was not a typical Shiner placing. And so in November, I got an email from the superintendent and said, hey, you need to consider coming here. We're going to be looking for a band director. Oh, we are looking for a band director. And I responded to this email saying, thank you so much for thinking of me. I'm not looking to move mid-year. I just wasn't, right? Like that's tough. Unless it's a really bad situation, I probably won't ever do that unless it's, I don't know, just perfect or a really bad situation. I didn't plan on doing that. And then it got to like April, and Mr. we had just gone to contact. Actually, it was probably mid-March because we went before spring break for our UIL. And Mr. Babbitt called me. He's like, Zach, you're running out of reasons just to go look. And he's like, it wouldn't hurt you to go look. Just go look what Shiner's about. Go interview. Go do your thing. And so we set it up, and the rest was history. It was we both just ran out of reasons in that interview to just realize this is kind of it. We were running out, and Whitney is a jack of all trades. Whitney is smarter than me by like a lot. She's so much smarter. She was in Sabinal doing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science by herself. And 8th grade is a star-tested subject area. It's the only star-tested subject area that's multiple years combined. So it's a material that's from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's not just an 8th grade material only star test for science. It's 3 years of science material. So it's so hard. And so she was balancing all that. And then she was there with me for high school band. And then she would come in during her conference period when she could for 6th grade band. So she was doing more than her fair share to survive and help make sure that we did okay with not only our band program, but also her science classroom. And so she was doing all of that and just surviving. It's just a lot to do. And in Shiner, they created a position for her where she could be middle school science, and it was just 6th and 8th grade science. And then she would also be here for high school band and 6th grade band. So it was kind of a hodgepodge making a position for her.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so let's backtrack to Whitney, because between behind every great man is a greater woman, as
For sure. Absolutely.
In the last podcast, we talked about our favorite rom-coms, because I'm a rom-com guy. And as I have quoted 1,001 times, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck, and the woman can turn her, and the neck can turn the head any which direction that she wants.
Is that a quote from My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Well, yes, sir.
I got it.
Yes,
I got it. because I listen, like,
Good
yeah,
for you.
I do love a big fat Greek wedding. See, yeah, there's a whole bunch of quotes for that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not much of a movie quoter, but that's fun.
Did watch it yesterday. Yeah.
That's a
I
good
could
one.
go
That's a good one.
left and right. So, okay, can you tell me about how you two like met and like the whole entire dynamic and the journey you two have made?
Yeah, that's another long story as well. Whitney, we have different stories with how we met. I'm going to go with Whitney's story because it's obviously correct. Because again, Whitney's always correct. The woman's always correct. That's just how it works. We both met in college in marching band. She's 2 years in school older than me, or just a little over 2 years, calendar year wise, but 2 years in school. And so she was a junior as my freshman year, and I came from Charlotte, which was a 1A, now a very small 2A, podunk, sheltered, small town boy coming up to Lubbock with 450 people in a band, and I was just blown out of my mind, just the whole
That's
scope
exactly
of
how I felt
Yeah.
in the Baylor marching band.
Yeah, just completely.
Literally 10 times the size of my graduating class.
Yes. My graduating class was 30.
Mine was 37, so
Nice. What high
slightly
school did you go
larger.
to?
Axtell.
Oh, yeah. They're in our area, Region 8.
Hey,
Okay.
And apparently the Sims family took up a percentage of the Charlotte graduating class because you're also an identical twin.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Who's the better looking twin?
I mean, you're looking at him, right?
How do you
Yeah.
expect me to answer that question?
Yeah. Okay. Who's the more talented twin? That's the other question.
I think you can, it depends on how you're looking at it, how you're spinning it. I think we both got different strengths. I did pretty well musically. So that was something that musically was something that I did pretty well in. But I think we both got different strengths. So that's just depending upon how you want to spin that one.
Yeah, nice right now. I am for him to take a dig, and he's taking the high road.
No, I try to. But no, I met Whitney in college. I didn't know my way around the music building, even though I had been to band camp there twice. They were just room numbers, and I was like, what is that? What is that room number? So apparently, from Whitney's perspective, which is the correct perspective, she said that I asked her, and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you know where the horn audition room is?" And
Yeah.
oh yeah, super polite. That's yeah. I have changed a little bit, but that was very much me. So I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you know where the horn audition room is?" And she told me where it was, and she was like, "Oh, it's so cute." Some of our good friends in college in the horn section, they were loud and rambunctious, and they had a good time. They had a real good time. And so this shy, introverted, overstimulated small town boy did not know what to do with them. And I called them obnoxious, and I just left them alone. So I couldn't, it was too much. I was overstimulated. And so, Whitney definitely had a crush and or feelings much, much sooner than I did.
Because you're just oblivious. That's what it was.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, no. If you know me at all, I'm oblivious to that stuff. Like, it just like, it's got to be pretty in my face for me to go, oh, that's what they're doing. Yeah. No, I'm pretty oblivious with it for sure. But she definitely had feelings before I did. We met in marching band. We didn't start dating. Let's see, when did we start marching? August of that year. It was the next year we started dating in November. And so we didn't. Whitney was definitely laying lots of hints that I was not getting. She was laying it on thick, and I just didn't get it. I didn't. I don't know. She didn't slap me upside the face for me to go, dude, I'm flirting with you. I just didn't get it. Also,
So what's your version of the events?
I don't remember that first meeting. I don't remember that. I kind of remember afterward, after results were out, I kind of remember meeting her there. But that's real fuzzy in my brain. But what I remember more than anything was her friends, and they are good people. They are really good people. But they were fun, and they were loud, and I call them obnoxious, and I'm not wrong, but they could be. But they were fun. That's more what I remember. The first meeting was them all together. But yeah, that was interesting doing all that. But going back to high school, I had a really bad high school experience. I had a great band director in high school. I was very much the odd duck at school. Charlotte is a not very utopian community. There are quite a few issues with Charlotte. There are times where it gets better and times where it doesn't. It's hard to make it great in Charlotte. It's just tough at times. The culture's kind of cyclical, and it's kind of hard to break that. So I was very much in the cycle is like, you're in athletics, you're in football, you do this, you do that, you go work in the oil field and all these other things. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that. And so I had a really rough middle school, high school experience dealing with me, quote unquote, being a failure compared to most of my town, and like just not really knowing where to fit and what to do and how to do it, and just not being the best example from Charlotte and this. And there's been a lot of therapy over the years to help get me past that. The idea of being a disappointment, even though I was a 3-year-old skater and I did really well at one play and I did a whole bunch of other things, but peer pressures.
That says a lot about you and the type of model that you have established for yourself and for your program. Because, I mean, how many kids do we in our, like, I mean, you know this, I mean, you've been a band director for, X amount of years, but like, how many of the kids that like walk in through our doors and it's their home and we've made it home. Yeah. And like, we're not ones to turn any student away,
Sure.
barring like that they're like a violent offender.
Yeah.
But like,
sure.
we just giving kids a home. Yeah. And like, that is one of those kind of things that like, for you, the band hall was your home and that was your safe space.
Yeah.
And I know you've done a wonderful job doing that at Shiner. And I bet you it was exceptional when you were over at Sabinal. But like, that's something that is often lost about what our profession is from the outside looking in. It's like, this is a home for everyone that wants to walk in through this door. And ultimately you make it what you put into it. And I think that says a lot about you coming from a small rural town, which you didn't have a lot of resources. And the culture was like, I mean, I grew up on a farm. I grew up in a community full of farmers. And like, getting out and doing a music degree was not what was in a lot of ways kosher. Yeah. I mean, so like Sitton ISD, which just had a baseball player a couple of years ago out of high school get drafted into the MLB.
Wow. Okay.
So like, and he was a first round draft as a high school senior. So like, the fact that you have that in you says a lot about your character and what you do for band programs and what you do for your kids.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I try, I think, and it's hard. I'm in this, like, there's always a lot going on in my brain. There's a lot of war going on. I'm super independent. And so I don't really care what people think because I'm independent. I'm going to go do it. I don't need anybody's help. But then on the other hand, I've also relied on people all of my life, and I ask for people's opinion and I want people's approval. But I'm also a people pleaser, and it's those three and I'm also a perfectionist because I'm a horn player. And so like, all of that equals just nonstop war in my brain. And it's just hard for me to settle and chill and do all those other things. And so I think as challenging as that is for me in my brain, it allows me to empathize with a lot of students and understand where they're coming from and do my best. And I think that's something I've learned, is that sometimes my best is the best for most students, but it's not always going to fix and solve all the solution for all the students. And I have to do my best to try to catch them all, but understand and give myself a little bit of grace when sometimes I'm just not exactly what everybody needs, and I'm okay with that. And that doesn't mean that I'm okay with just not being what most students need. I want to be that band director for them, but sometimes it's not because of a lack of effort or a lack of empathy or a lack of desire to try to catch them all. Sometimes it's just not in the cards for those kids to be in a program, and I've had to give myself some grace on that.
Well, and I know you do everything you can, because I've heard that sometimes you're a pretty little princess.
I am. I am.
Can you
I am the
tell me?
prettiest little princess.
The prettiest. Get it right, please.
Yeah.
Prettiest little princess.
Yeah.
The right qualifier.
Can you tell me about how you are the prettiest little princess?
Well, I'm currently sitting at my desk, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I count at least 7 tiaras on my desk. So let's make sure that we understand that first and foremost. Number two. Where, golly, how did that even start? I told kids, I remember it. It was not the first day of school. I think it was picture day one year. It was probably my 3rd or 4th year here in Shiner. And it was the picture day. So on those days, I'm like, listen, we're not going to go outside and march because marching band's first period. The kids look disheveled for their pictures. I'm like, okay, that day you need to know we're going to have a picture, or we're going to be inside. So it's picture day. And kids were, I said something like, man, guys, y'all look really nice. Hey, you're dressed all nice, as opposed to marching band where it's like, t-shirt and shorts and shoes and run out there. And so it was just, I was like, man, y'all clean up really nice. And somebody said something snarky back to me, like, well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even remember what they said. Well, I said, listen here, y'all. I said, well, just to let you know that y'all look good today, but you're never going to beat me because I'm the prettiest princess. And then just run with it. I've got 7 things up here. I've got little stickers of kids. And I mean, here, there's this one. This one doesn't light up like some of the others, but I mean, I'm telling you, dude,
that was extravagant.
There's not a video of it, but
so good. I mean, if people could see this, it is extravagant. It's something that you see at homecoming.
This is my favorite. This one. It's just so simple, regal, but also bougie AF.
You wear them so well.
I'm sorry. Why are you surprised by that?
I know. What is the?
It's like you don't believe I could. And I'm offended by that.
What are you doubting?
Yeah, I'm offended. I'm off the podcast right now. Bye.
Hang out.
So that's a great thing that you've started with your kids. So how does that play into your regular band class? Do you use that as a type of reward, or is that a moment that you just feel, the urge? Like the other day, Alexa's playing a piece called Fanfare Americana, and I just felt the need.
Such a distraction.
And so I just grab the American flag off the wall and I just start strutting. And
oh my God.
Rehearsal.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna
he
say
just
middle school
ruined
kids
it.
completely ruined that rehearsal. Got nothing done. Our high school kids will do it, and there's posters around up front with Mr. Sims and Pretty Princess, and so every once in a while, a 6th or 7th grader will ask something about it. Oh wait, hold on. I can show you. Hold on. This is probably one of my favorite things. Okay, don't let me forget that question because I do want to answer it. So we've got a little Miss and Mr. Shiner a court that people can try out for. I don't know if try out's the right word. Audition doesn't feel like the right word. I don't know. They can be on it. It's like a Miss America, but for Shiner. Not homecoming court, like a royalty, Shiner Royal. I don't know how to describe it. Well, we were at Christmas in the park, and these other kids, they were on there, and they had their tiaras, but their tiaras were lit up. They had lights in them. I was like, excuse me. And so I took it off of them, and they took a picture of me in it. And so in 7th grade band, we don't have uniforms for our middle school kids to go to contests with. And so we always just do a band shirt and jeans so that we look uniform, so judges don't gripe about it. So we look all the same. And we do that. Well, I always get kids' input as to what their 7th grade shirt is going to be that year. And so this year, one of them was in the Shiner Royalty Court and had taken a picture of me in looking really good in the tiara. And so one of the shirt ideas was me in that. And so it's like Shiner, pretty princess, and it's got a little scepter, and me in. And I had to show them how to wave because I felt like they were not waving good enough.
Yeah.
This
And
is
so-
great. So, like, you should have like a Shiner mace made
I should.
just specifically for you.
I'm down for it. Now that it is in my head, I'm totally get it done. I don't know where I'm going to get it done at, but
Like what you need to do is like be the queen being like, coronated and like have the red
Yeah.
cape and with
Yeah.
the frill and like the
The fur.
spear thing.
yeah.
That'd
Okay.
be great.
All right. I can help you with this.
So how that plays into my like everyday thing is like 6th and 7th graders. Like the other day, 7th grade, what were we doing? And I said something, and they were just not doing what I want. And so I went and I came and grabbed one of the tiaras, and I was like, "Listen, this is Pretty Princess Sims. Whenever I tell you that you need to mark that in your music, you're going to mark it in your music because I said so. And you're actually going to, and so we just try to do it throughout that. And, I think it kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes our high school kids kind of forget about it, and then they'll do something and they'll say it, and it kind of brings it back for another couple of weeks. But it's just kind of a running joke that is. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I'm looking here. Yeah, I mean, it's not as grand as it needs to be, but it is a little Disney princess.
Yeah.
A little Ariel, a little Cinderella, a little Belle. So it's not as grand as it needs to be, but it just kind of. Oh, I definitely looked up here. It's definitely more than 7. It's fine. It's fine. But it's. I think so many times, and I think the older I get, the harder it is for me to connect with younger kids, just because our ages are different, right? We speak differently, we talk differently, we have different interests. So trying to connect with kids and be silly, I think, is so important to forming relationships, as opposed to just, well, you've got a really good band and the end product was great. Well, did we love on kids to get them there, and did we connect with kids? And I think that's something I try to do. Today I was just working with a group down the road, and I kept trying to throw in verbiage that they're hearing right now. There was a kid playing in Arrest, and I was like, man, that's main character energy. The problem is we don't need main character energy right now. We need you to all play at the same time. Just trying to do things like that so that kids can connect to a director, as opposed to you just being the old guy or woman at the front of the room, trying to connect to them in some ways, to do more than just be a good bandmate, but to also develop a relationship. And we call ours, our band, we talk about it being a band family. It's supposed to, like, a lot of people say, hey band, hey what, hey band, hey what. We say, hey fam, like family. Hey fam, hey what, hey fam, hey what. That's what we do. Just trying to connect with kids and honestly develop a familial relationship with them, I think is pivotal for our success.
Have you ever mewed with the tiara on your head?
Okay, here's the deal. I don't mew with a tiara. It's it's tiara, just so you know.
Oh, I am
tiara.
so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my.
You should be. I'm just.
Wow. You attacked on my own podcast.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I'm. This is real sad. This kid burned me so hard. I mewed one day. The stupid thing, like you do the thing. And a kid looked right at me and goes, "Where?" And I was like, "Oh, it was awful." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm dying. Dead, R.I.P. me. Dead right now. -1,000 aura, all of it." I was like, that is the worst. I was just like, I can't anymore. So like, it was real funny. I was probably, I don't know, beginning in the fall when kids were doing it more down here, and they were like, "You, Mr. Sims, you." I was like, I can't because somebody said they can't see where it's happening, so I can't do it. So no, I don't mew. I
have
don't
an
mew.
elongated beard. That's
Just
commit to the beard. And everything's okay.
There we go.
Oh, okay. So coming back to your boss.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Is that what you say about me?
What you're my boss? So Alexa and I share an office, and she like sits.
We sit literally like 2 feet from each other.
Directly.
There's no
same.
room.
Look right behind me. That's her desk.
That's how we sit.
Same thing. And so therefore, I always feel like there's some type of hovering. So like, maybe
Who's hovering?
nobody.
No one. It's fine. It's fine.
So, okay. So Whitney, so like, I think her situation is very interesting. So like, she doesn't have a music degree.
Correct. She has a music minor. She's got like a whole bunch of
Oh,
minors. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. A whole
Yeah.
bunch of, so she is really smart. Not that
No, like I'm telling
I
you,
took
she's
word-
smarter than she's way smart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
She would have known that Jupiter had rings.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. She would have been able. Yes. Yes, it does. She would have said it right back. But she's also taught.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been privy to this information, but I have been texting Whitney for
Oh,
information.
I thought some of those questions felt a little bit pointed, but okay, that
Yeah,
makes
we have a
sense now.
lot of information.
Okay.
I've been messenger for information.
Okay.
And part of the reason I was all like, "Oh, I'm so sad that you're not going to be on the pod." And she goes, "I couldn't because I'd be fact checking him the whole entire time."
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She'd be like, "That's stupid. No, that's not how that happened. Oh my God, you're dumb. You're just making this up now." Yeah, that's how
Maybe
that would
You
be.
need to get Whitney on, just as a
Listen,
supplemental
it would be a good
episode.
time. Y'all would have a
Okay.
good time. You should.
All right.
So she doesn't
sure.
have she has a music minor, and her
Yes.
main degree is in science.
Correct. Yeah.
So she pulls double duty, not only as a science teacher, but as an assistant band director
Mhm.
and a mom.
Yes.
So have
And
you gotten
actually,
her-
this year her job title changed. She is
Oh.
actually now high school technology. So she teaches she teaches a BIM class, and then she does like a graphic design for like a yearbook. So CTE is the new thing, not necessarily the new
Yeah.
thing, but the thing
It's
where
the
districts
thing,
get
though. Yeah.
you get paid more. Yeah, you get paid more per student. And so she does a graphic design through a CTE track for that to do. So yearbook counts as graphic design, and the end goal is that they would get a certificate and all that stuff. So this is her first year. So she's doing that in addition to being a band director, first and eighth period. Yeah. So she's a jack of all trades because she can do it. And that's kind of been a thing for her. Is she's always been worried about like, what do people think of me because I don't have an official music degree and I don't have this and I don't have that. And this, that's always been kind of a thing for her. And she's like, I'm going to take the music test one day. And I'm like, listen, Whitney, you've been around this for 14 years. Honestly, you could probably take the music test right now and just answer most of it. Like, would she know the extended theory? Would she know some of the other things? Probably not, but she'd probably pass it just because she's been a band director so long. And she's been around it and taught students. So there'd be so many things that she wouldn't have to study at all. She'd just get it. But that's always been a thing for her. She's been worried about people viewing her as less than because she doesn't have an official music degree and a music certification. And I would argue that she's better than a lot of people who have them. So, I don't think that's an
honestly,
issue.
I didn't know that she didn't have a music degree. I mean, I think she's more of a boss because of that.
Yeah. And, that's without all of the education classes and all this and all that. And she does it, and then she does it really well. Not only does she do it, she does it really well. She does a great job with it. She 100% has a huge impact and contribution to our program. It's not
I don't think there's
she's
many
just kind of over
people
there.
that could do that.
No, I don't think so either. But that also comes back to like surrounding yourself with people that like hide your blind spots and that you feel are better than you. I think that's what one makes a good like band staff, but that also like makes a really, really good component of like your relationship with your significant other.
Yeah.
I mean, Alexa covers my blind spot all the time. I mean, it's a pretty big blind spot.
Is that a fat joke? Is that what that was?
I lean on the fat jokes.
You really do.
I lean on them because I am aware that I own a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
And so therefore,
It's
I
all
just
good.
lean to it. It's fine.
I'm a little fluffy too. It's all good.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
get
good.
called Gabriel Iglesias all the time, and I'm like, well, that's a little
That's kind of
racist.
funny.
There's a sixth grader that calls you Fluffy. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's pretty
I'm
funny.
like, I feel kind of, prof.
Yeah. You should. I mean, you don't have as much money as
I wish I did, but so okay. So did you? Okay, so who was at Sabinal first, her or you?
Me, she was. So she has, what is the official title of her degree? I'm trying to think. There's a name for it, but she has a minor in biology, in chemistry, in Spanish, in English, and in music.
Okay, when did she have time to date you?
Whitney had a really good time in college, and Whitney took a little bit longer. She took a couple of laps around, before she finished.
Is that how she like met Wiley Gore?
So Wiley and her are the same age.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
They're the same age. Yeah. And they, those two are thick as thieves. They're really great friends. Her and Wiley. But she's, just done that. And so I started in Sabinal. And so what she was doing is because she was in this weird, she didn't have a degree. So she ended up getting alt certified, right, in education and did that. And it's been and not only, okay, so like, caveat to this, not only is she a great band director, she's a phenomenal science teacher, like phenomenal. Like the 8 years she was here in Shiner as a science teacher, the 8th grade science test, she had the 8 highest star scores in Shiner's history in those 8 years. Like it was her. Wow. Like she had the top 8 passing percentages in Shiner's history while also being a band director. Like, I mean, she's great, and she doesn't like to toot her own horn. She doesn't like to take any credit for all that, but she worked her tail off to get there, and so she was in this. So going back to it, I started in Sabinal teaching 4th through 12th grade by myself. My first year, Whitney was not in Sabinal. She was a library aide at Natalia, which is a 3A school down southwest of San Antonio. And because she was in this weird in between, she didn't have a degree, a certification for education. And so she was overqualified for things like HEB, and things like that kept turning her down, but she wasn't qualified enough to get certain jobs. So she was in this weird halfway in between. And so trying to find a landing spot was always a challenge for her. And then, the science job came open in Sabinal, and she applied and did that and had to get alt certified, but then went from there and, made a name for herself being not only a science teacher, but also a great band director. So I was there first, by myself. She was there at all our evening practices. She was there at all our football games. She was there at all our contests. She was there. I mean, she was doing the work without being there during the school day. Basically everything outside of school, she was there.
So, I mean, like, the support system you had based just on that alone, like, says a lot.
For sure. Oh, I always, the phrase that she always tries to say, she tries to say it, but I definitely know that I'm in the right. Whenever I say I'm the lucky one, that was our phrase. That was, it's engraved on the inside of our wedding rings. I'm the or you say we're the lucky ones is what we settled on the inside of our rings. But I definitely know I've got the better end of that deal. I know I do. Whitney is a phenomenal human being, plus a phenomenal band director, phenomenal science teacher, now a phenomenal yearbook sponsor. I mean, she's great. She's I'm more blessed than she is blessed to have me in her life, for sure. I'm the lucky one in this situation, and she'll always say, "No, we're the lucky one." No, it's I'm the lucky one. I know where I fall. I think I'm a pretty good catch most of the day, but most of the days, but I don't compare to her.
So, okay. So how did you pop the question?
Going back to high school, peer pressure is not a thing that I deal well with. So we were, my last semester in college, we were both in the Lubbock Chorale, and we were singing at Carnegie Hall, right? Like, what? Not playing, singing in Carnegie Hall. Because in college, we had to have one semester of either a vocal lesson or a choir experience. And so we were in the Lubbock Chorale in the fall, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to Carnegie Hall in the spring. Do y'all want to come?" And I was like, "Duh." So we both did it. And, that was kind of expected, that I was going to pop the question in New York, and we were going that. And it was my last concert as an undergrad before I was going to student teach the next in the fall. And so I was just expected to do it then. And, Whitney and I actually dated a really long time. She can tell you the exact amount of time, or like pretty close, before I said, "I love you." Not because I didn't, but because I think so many people use the word pretty flippantly, maybe not. They're like, "Oh, I just love this person." And I think whenever you're dealing with like a best friend or something, I don't think it's flippant. But I think too many people get in a relationship, "Oh, I love this person," after 6 weeks. And I'm like, man, like, do you really know this person? So I was real hesitant with it. My mom, going back to just, I would say trauma might be a little too harsh, but dealing with experiences. My mom was a single parent. She had 2 divorces from men who didn't treat her very well, and were not faithful to her. And so I came out of that relationship with mom very, very jaded and very, very hesitant to say I love you to somebody in a relationship, to get into a relationship in general, just because I'd seen the damage that it can be caused whenever things don't work out. And so I was very, very cautious with that. And so people kept expecting, you're going to do it here. You're going to do it here. You're going to do it here. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it on my own terms. And so we actually planned a trip to Europe. I knew I wanted to do it on that trip. So we actually flew into Vienna, Austria. Then we went to Salzburg. And then from Salzburg, we took a train to Paris, and then took a train from Paris to London. And so everybody's like, you're going to do it in Paris. You're going to do it. It's the city of love. It's this and this. And I was like, that's just too expected, right? And so I was looking around at all the other places. I didn't want to do it there. But I also didn't want to wait on a very expensive ring for forever. I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to do anything. So I knew I wanted to do it earlier. And so I was looking around Salzburg, and Salzburg is just pretty picturesque. It's pretty Hallmark Channel. It's kind of perfect. Beautiful location. And there was one place that just really stood out to me, but it has a connotation to it of not being the greatest place. And it was not the Königssee. It was one of the lakes. It was the Eagle's Nest for Adolf Hitler. And it was super negative connotation. However, but if you're anywhere near it, it is one of the most profound places on earth. It is an incredible place. I was like, I don't know. I just kept going back and forth. This just doesn't quite feel right to do it there, right? I mean, if I were to take away the connotation of the place that it is, take away, all of that, this huge thing about, Adolf Hitler, kind of a big deal. If I take that away, it would be the best place. But anyway, kept looking around, and we're obviously music based and music oriented. And so we actually proposed to her in the Mirabelle Gardens in Salzburg, which from The Sound of Music is where they're singing Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Do. God, what's the title? The song title?
I think it's called Do, Re, Mi. I think that's the name
they're
of
singing
the
on
song.
the steps. Yeah, they're singing solfege on the steps. Yeah, it was in that garden. And I picked a spot with a fountain off to the side. It was meant to be pretty pristine and pretty quiet, and I couldn't figure out how to get her over there. If I did something cheesy like Whitney, and I've got a green thumb. I get that from my mom. I love growing things. Not so much a garden, but flowers, roses, trees. I like stuff like that.
Alexa can't grow anything.
I tried.
No.
I've grown I've grown 3 children, but that's fine.
Fair enough. Children are fine. But anything that other than the children that takes energy to keep.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay, so let me explain something. Let me.
Why you got to put me on blast like this?
Well, here's the thing. When we were dating before, pre.
I really like plants though.
Yeah, I know you do. They just don't last. How do you kill a cactus? The succulents.
So here's the problem though: is that my grandmother. That was Zach is talking about. Was a mega talent of hers. She had an immaculate yard and beautiful flower beds. My sister is excellent at it too. My mom is good at it too.
Unlike majority of the rest of your family.
Yeah, I got that from my dad. My sister and my mom.
So story time. Is that we're dating. We're in my apartment at one point in time. And she decides that she wants a betta fish. Okay. So we have.
I still want a fish.
We have this betta fish, and of course, betta fish don't last very long. They die very easily. So we that happens. Okay.
This is a great.
All right. So we bought this little aquarium thing that looks like a little mountain. It was cute, and so the fish dies, and. So therefore we clean everything out and we're done getting fish. It is what it is. And, months go by. Months. All right. And I'm sitting there and Alexa's all oh, I'm going to make pudding. And so and she has this fantastic banana pudding recipe. It's fantastic. And so like,
You know that my mom, that's one thing that my mom makes is banana pudding, but
Because-
she makes warm banana pudding, which is like the opposite of what 98%
Warm
of the
banana
Southerners
pudding.
eat. She does. It's banana
Warm?
pudding. It's essentially kind of similar, but it's not like whipped cream based. It's you make a meringue and like top it with a meringue and then you bake it. Yeah.
Wow, it's almost
Yeah.
sounds sacrilegious, but I would definitely want to try it.
It's almost like bread pudding, like it, because whatever.
It's
But
great.
it's different. It's
great.
different.
Great.
Yeah.
So like I'm sitting there, she's like, I made banana pudding. And so like, I'm like, great. And like, she brings out the,
This is why I own a lot of real estate.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly the reason
Yeah.
why. But like she, I tell people all the time, if Alexa wanted to kill me, all she'd have to do is poison my food and I would eat it without question. So she brings out this banana pudding and
It was beautiful.
it was beautiful. It was layered. There was like banana pudding, wafers, cream, banana pudding. I mean, just like this.
You know how you make a pudding. Yeah,
thing.
sure.
And I'm sitting there and I'm eating this bowl and I'm happy as can be. And I look at the banana pudding and go, why that container? And then
It's
clicked.
a beautiful decorative vase.
She used the fish
Great.
bowl, this grave site for this fish.
Great.
It was a grave site.
The
This
scene
bowl.
of a murder.
Yeah, exactly. She used that
The
bowl.
little chalk outline of the fish.
She used that bowl as the bowl to serve me death pudding. That's what it
Oh.
was. Beta
Death
fish
pudding?
death pudding. And I
Beta
was like,
death
that
pudding.
part?
I-
Death
so
pudding.
I'm like sitting there and it like clicks. I'm like horrified. You know when something like you're just like, oh, this is so good. And then you realize what it's made out of. And you're like, this isn't good anymore.
It's like when
Yeah.
people eat menudo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the experience I
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry that I fed you delicious pudding.
yeah. Out of a crime
Sorry,
scene.
she loved you so much. That
Yeah,
she was
Toby, I
just
love
trying
you
to
so
provide for
much.
you.
Hey, I keep lots of things alive.
So in these proposals, sorry.
Yeah. Scope back, years and several thousand miles later. I put her off to the side and I just couldn't figure out how to ask her. And so I love gardening and I'm not really gardening. I love a well manicured lawn and all those things. And so I was like, Whitney, come look at this plant. And I placed the ring there. And I don't know what happened. So, Europe is so close. There's so many countries here and there. And I don't know. It went from being quiet to half of Europe was in this side little garden whenever I proposed. Because I kind of remember the words like, hey, Whitney, I love you. I know, I think, and maybe you can remember more, but whenever I proposed, I was just so nervous about it. And I think I had words like in my head and I don't know exactly what I said because I probably fumbled through all of them anyway, but I said something, like, I love you. I love the life that we can create together. I hope that you will say yes to marrying me. You'll make me the happy, something. And so she said yes. And then,
That's what your
that's exactly
proposal
it.
said.
And then everyone started clapping and I looked behind her and I swear there were 50 people in there. But they were all from different countries in Europe that just kept streaming by. And I was like, what happened? Probably 50. It was probably more like 20. I mean, because it went from like 0 to 20 so fast. So it just felt like a whole lot. So it was wild. And I did it on my own terms and not when everybody expected me to. So that's kind of a calling card of our relationship. We kind of do what feels right to us, as opposed to what society or what the norms are. We kind of do what works for us.
Yeah.
Which is great.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay. So why band? Like, why did you choose band?
Whew. Well, my older brother was a good football player. We have ranches at home, so we have cattle. That was kind of the expected route. I picked band because, in sixth grade, I was good. I was a good horn player. In seventh grade, I was good, but I kept getting beat by a girl in my class. And I kept thinking, man, I don't like getting beat. I don't like it. And so at all region, I got 6 chairs as seventh grader and she was first chair. And I just said, nah, I don't like getting beat. And so after that point, I kept going and I had success and I did well in high school, made an all-state and all those things. I didn't fit in any box that Charlotte kind of offered. And I think that goes back to the baggage that I've had to work through of not really having a place to fit, not having your niche, and kind of having to forge your own niche is challenging. In my family, we're a lot better than we used to be, but I had to work through the idea of my family not knowing how to support me. They didn't know how to help me. And some of them who have since, gone back and apologized would say things like, well, this isn't going to get you anywhere, that you're not going to go do anything. That's what can you even do with this? You mean you just want to do that? It was a tough point in my life that I felt. And luckily I had, a great support system and with my director. And, I don't want it to come off as my family didn't support me. Woe is me. They didn't know how to, and they didn't know what words to use and what actions to do and all of those things. But I just remember the feeling I got. I'm a naturally pretty competitive person. But also just a feeling of family, being able to be a part of an all-region band or an all-state band, or go to band camp and recognize, hey, these people are just like me. I just don't have any of them like me in my high school. That doesn't mean that I'm wrong. That just means I haven't found my tribe yet. I haven't found my people. And so finding my people through all region, through all state, through band camp is really where I just said, this is it. This is where I feel like I fit. As much as, there would be a purpose and a desire and a drive to go home and take over the family ranches and do cattle and do those things. There's none for me there. And it's not because it's not good enough. It's not any of those things, or I'm too good to do that. It's just, I have no desire, none. And, our family has 4 ranches, and it's just not for me. So I found my people. It took me a while, and I wish I could tell myself, my younger self, of just keep searching, keep going until you do find them. Because I did. It just took me a while. But I found them, and I think that's why it's banned, is because I found the people who love and support me no matter what, and support me in this decision to be in a band program and in a music major. And so that was it. And finding that spot for me.
That says a lot about like adversity. And like, that's something that we struggle with all the time, is like now. And it's just like having kids realize that it's going to be okay. Like, things are going to be tough sometimes. And like, if you like push through it, it's going to be worth all of it. And I think that's one of the things about like band programs. And it's the same thing why people are like attracted to like athletics and football and basketball, is because that there's a certain amount of adversity that comes along with those things. The biggest difference between those activities and our activity is that the adversity they, like football teams and basketball teams and all these other groups, athletic events, face is another team, where the adversity we face is more internal and self-motivated. I mean, like I've been saying this a lot recently because I talked to Mike Barkley over at Canton, and fantastic band director, like great history and heritage there. But him and I were just chit-chatting, and he said like one of the things that he tells his kids is the first place they should ever look whenever there's any sense of adversity or reason why for this is a mirror. Start there. The first thing you do in the morning is one of the first things you do is you look in the mirror. And if there's any reason for failure or growth or any of that kind of stuff, it starts with there. It starts by looking in the mirror. And I think that says a lot about you, and it says a lot about Whitney. And I think it says a lot about the programs you've been attached to, is that I think you've done a lot of that. And you've done a lot of looking in the mirror and going like, hey, this is what I'm going to do because this is what I am made to do. And so that says a lot about you and just kind of the things that you've been doing. So like so for you, what makes small school special?
Well, I think that there's 2 answers to that. I think from a student perspective and a director perspective, and I'll answer both. From a student perspective, so Stephen Kripicka was here at Shiner for forever, really made the program into what it is, put Shiner on the map for being a good 2A band program. Steven and I are good friends. I have called, he's another person I've talked his ear off and asked questions and advice and everything too. And what's something that I love with small school, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen at big school, I think it's more prevalent in small school. But because Steven and I are such good friends, and we would compete against each other, and our bands would be at the same area and same state contest, we would always, like, our bands began to be friends with each other. So not only because we were friends as directors, our bands became closer and acquainted. And I think the idea of something that I try to build into my program, the familial feel, the family culture that we build, I think can also cross different school districts. I don't think it has to just stay within your program. So I think small school for me has that ability, that innate ability to allow students from other programs to also be that, like, I think being on the outside looking in is really tough. Not advancing or not getting what you want or not getting the placement that you want is always tough. But something that I always teach my kids is whenever we're at a state marching contest, and if we don't get what we want, 2 years ago we got fourth and are coming off of first place, and our kids were devastated. And part of me was too. It just really stinks. You have dreams to win it again. It's a dream come true. And when you don't hear your name, or when you hear your name and it's not last, that's tough, with all that. But what's something I loved seeing the fact that our kids, as devastated as they were, they went and congratulated all the rest of the kids on the field. They went and hugged those kids. They went and said, "I'm proud of you. Congratulations." And I don't know if that happens at big school. I'm not, and I hope it does, right? I hope I'm wrong. I hope it does, but I would be willing to bet that it doesn't. So I think for me, something that I just keep coming back to is just the culture and the community that you build within small school bands. I think is something that I think is unbeatable when it comes to that, especially from a student perspective. From a director perspective, some of my best adult friends that I didn't meet in college are band directors in my region, or band directors that I've had relationships with, because Lord knows we see each other enough, between all our pre-UIL marching contests and our region marching contests and auditions and clinic and concerts and solo and ensemble. And then, we see each other so often. And I've had other people who have been in small schools and then go to large schools, and they're like, man, it's just not the same. The camaraderie that you feel as directors in small schools is unbeatable. You just can't match it. So I think I come back to it was from a student and a director perspective of both, just being a family, being that community, that camaraderie, that level of companionship that I think so many people are looking for in one way or another, I think is important. And I think that's something I come back to.
Well, and so, like, you've mentioned this several times about the community of Shiner. I mean, it's a rich history of, like, excellent bands. Like, you walking into that program, like, how did you go about, like, making that your own? And, like, how do you feel it's important for, like, how you did that and you made it your own product?
Well, I made some mistakes, as we all do. But I also look back on some things and go, some people might view this as a mistake, and some people might go, that's gutsy, and some people might go, that's crazy. I'll just tell you how I did it. I think that was a real challenge, right? Because, they've got they had several state finals appearances. They had a gold and a silver under Steven and Sarah, and that was just daunting to walk in the same band hall as them, to be in the same area as them. Was just a challenge, and it was definitely daunting. The first year I changed stuff because I changed the show that was originally picked. I did not vibe with. It was The Adventures of Super Spy, and it was like a spy show with Superman together, and it just didn't fit for me. Now, some people loved it. Some people would have loved it. Some people do. And some people are like, man, that could have been my favorite show. Or it is my favorite show. That's totally fine. It just didn't fit for me. I just remember thinking, like, I'm going to struggle teaching this for 4 or 5 months. And it was a non-advancing year, the year I got here. But I think something that I did is when I first got here, I tried to change as little as possible. because change is hard, and change is really hard in small towns. It's about impossible. And so changing as little as I could, and I know that was a big thing to change the show. And maybe the way I went about it probably should have been done with more tact. I just never had to change a show before. So, I was new to that, and so I probably could add some more tact with it. I will say something that I did my first year here. We had 106 kids in band when I got here. And I was just like, there are so many kids in this band hall. And this band hall probably, as I'm looking at it, probably could fit 60. Like, that would be great. Anything after 60 and it's too tight. Like, it was just nuts. And so I was like, how do I take 106 kids to contest in one band? And so we split it my very first year. We went to contest then in late April or mid-April. I was like, we have enough time. We could work on it. And so that was a crazy thing to do. That was crazy to split that first year. That was challenging. In hindsight, I don't know if I'd do it that way again. I might have waited one more year. But probably the thing that I felt like I probably succeeded the most at is I tried to make sure that the kids knew that I was there for them. I was here to make sure that our program continued the direction that it was going. I tried to change as little as I could and then gradually make changes as we went along. I had 2 big changes in my first year. I don't know if I would have changed it. The show, that was one of the big changes. I feel pretty solid with that one. It was just something that I didn't feel, not that I couldn't teach it, I just didn't enjoy it. And that music lives in your head for months. And I was just like, this was not it for me. It wasn't it. The one thing that I still wrestle with in my mind is whether or not I should have done it or not was splitting our bands that first year. In hindsight, some people will argue that I shouldn't have done it, and I think they make a strong point. But in hindsight, I think it also made us into what we were, and what we are is splitting that group. Shiner's a challenge. It's this utopian community, kind of like a Mayberry. We pretty much have everything we could ever need in Shiner, except for like a car dealership and a dry cleaner. But you can take your dry cleaner.
Okay. Well, hold on. Is there a Dairy Queen there?
There is not.
I have devastating news.
What?
So breaking news today is that they're closing. I think that it was like 25 Dairy Queen.
25 Dairy Queens.
More than 24 across the state. And so I hate this to be the place that Brian Sowers finds out, but they're closing the Dairy Queen in Carthage. It is permanently closed.
I'm going to have to text Brian.
Yeah.
No.
Also, one near us closed.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that there's not a Dairy Queen in
Shiner.
There's not. I think there used to be one, and now it's a bank. That
That's
was
always
before
the answer.
Yeah.
We think there used to be one. Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be one. And so there's not. But God, what was I talking about before Dairy Queen? Now forgot.
Yeah, but everything's sorry.
It's Mayberry. It's Mayberry.
What's your Dairy Queen order? What's your Blizzard order?
Blizzard. Okay. It's got to be Oreo with cookie dough added.
Ooh. Oh, that's a great
It's kind of like
answer.
It's kind of like the Bluebell cookie 2-step, except in a Blizzard form. But Shiner is pretty utopian in a lot of ways. This year last school year we just hung up our 21st state championship between all of our events. That's insane. And of those 21, there are probably a dozen more that were silvers. So that 21 is almost 30. Real fast. It's just wild, the expectation and the culture in Shiner. And so there's a catch with that. So my first year, tried to just the ship wasn't sinking, but it wasn't really going anywhere. It's kind of stale, kind of stagnant that first year, because Sarah Rose did a great job of keeping the ship afloat with that first year with that director who was asked to leave after November. And so Sarah did a great job of keeping the ship afloat and making sure it didn't sink. And she, still took them to contest, and they made a sweepstakes that year. She did a great job of continuing it and carrying it that year. But after that, there were lots of decisions that had to be made. Like, where are we going? What are we doing? What's the next step? And so I had some decisions to make. And that first year, a lot of it stayed the same. I did split bands, and we did that. And then after that, we had to go. And so I was slowly starting to change it into more of my program and more of what I wanted to see. So that first year was a non-event year, and the next year we made it to state. We were 10th at state. Had a pretty good run. Looking back on it, it was about as good as I felt like we could have done that year. Because the 2 years previous, they were almost last at area. So to go almost last at area to 10th at state, I thought was a pretty good jump for us. In saying that, there was a sizable amount of band booster parents who went after my job that first year when we made state and we got 10th, because that wasn't good enough for Shiner. They were on my band booster board, and they went after my job to the superintendent. Luckily, my superintendent was kind of a stonewall. It was just like, he just got 10th at state, y'all. Where 2 years ago, y'all weren't anywhere close. Like, what are you doing? He's just not doing enough, and he's asking for too much money. And I'm like, yeah, I did. So I'm still going to ask for too much money. That's just bad. And so that was tough, and that's the whole trying to be a people pleaser, but also be a perfectionist, but also be independent. So my mind is always in chaos and turmoil. That added a lot of turmoil. These parents who would look me in the face and say, thank you for everything that you're doing. Just kidding. I'm going to go try to get you fired. Within the same breath was tough. It was challenging. So making it a program that's more about us just took time. I think the idea of trust is a challenge for some students, for some parents, for some communities. There's just a lot, right? I mean, some people can take over a program where you're the fourth director in 5 years. That trust is an issue for kids and for directors and adults, and I get all of those things. So making it our program, or making into what it is, definitely took some time. It definitely wasn't overnight. And in fact, I just had the guts to change our slogan probably 2 or 3 years ago. And it always said, what was it? On the trailer, I think it said, "Pride never sounded so good." And that was their slogan. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I changed it to "Continuing the Legacy." And I don't think it necessarily took away from the previous one. I just think that's kind of where we're at. We're continuing the legacy of the Shiner Comanche Band, of having a pride in our Shiner Comanche Band and doing that. So that's kind of what we're at now, is just continuing that legacy and making that our own, and not letting it be tied to a director, because if it's tied to a director, that's the wrong perspective. It's got to be tied to the kids, and it's got to be on them, because at the end of the day, you can be the best director in the world, but if your kids don't work hard for you, if you can't motivate them, it's not going to show. So it's all about them. It's about them and making sure that they're front and center, and they're the ones that we're trying to encourage, motivate, push where we need to, and do those things. So it took a while to get it to where it is now.
Yeah. I mean, we feel that every single day when it comes to like just getting the students over the hump. So going into all that, like, I mean, you've had a lot of success. Based off all the success that you've had, what is probably your favorite memory of like band? Like as a student, as a director, I mean, one of each. Do you have a moment that stands out the most for you?
My senior year of high school, I was first chair at ATSSB at Allstate. So ATSSB now has a 4A track and a 3A track. When I was in high school, we were all combined. So it was all the ATSSB band. So there was a symphonic and a concert band, but it was just one big track. So my senior year, I was a small school kid from the smallest classification that won it my senior year. That was a validation, vindication for all the times people told me I wasn't going to be good enough or this or that. So that was a moment for sure. I was in the Scottish Rite. 5 minutes before I went into the audition room, my French horn popped like 3 different solders, and my lead pipe was separate from my horn. And I was like, what? And so, oh God, Daniel Aleman, who was at
I know Daniel
Pearsall.
Aleman, U.S. Pearsall. I was in the
Huge name,
Allstate
right?
band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Huge
I was
name.
in the Allstate band with his son.
Oh, okay. And I can't remember if it was Daniel and he had a brother. It was one of the, I think it was his, maybe it was Daniel. It was an Aleman, and anyway, he took a lanyard and like Jerry rigged this together, and he's like, good luck with your audition. And so I was already a mess because I was wanting to, I knew I would be competitive for it and did that. And so I came out of the audition room, and, ATS at Allstate, everybody's in the same room. So kind of, for the most part, you think you kind of know where you stand. And I was like, I'm either first or second. There's this other kid from La Vega. He was good horn player. And so we were just like, it's either me or him. I don't know who it's going to be. And John Rauschuber walked off the stage of the Scottish Rite, came down one of the aisles, came close to us, and he goes, well, how do you think you did? I was like, I think I did pretty good. I feel good. I feel pretty confident. I think I'm going to be either first or second. And he goes, what's your number? And I don't remember my number. I wish I could tell you, 16 or whatever it was. But and whatever I told my number, he stopped what he did, and he looked at me. He goes, I think you're going to be happy with your result. And I was sitting next to my director, and I was like, what does that mean? I think I know what that means, but I don't want to say it. You don't want to wish first, and it's really seventh. I didn't want to get that far. And so when they posted the results in the lobby of the Emily Morgan, because that's where we stayed at the hotel, was the Emily Morgan.
That was always a mad dash. And
it was worst elevators in the world.
Yeah, because there's only 2 of them.
Terrible. Worst elevators.
All the ATSSB kids in the Emily Morgan, and they have 2 elevators.
They don't know how blessed they are with the Hyatt.
No, they don't.
No clue.
No clue.
Awful. And it's already still a mess of the Hyatt Regency, but it's miles better, Emily Morgan. But in one of those spots, they posted it up there, and I just floored. That was a moment as a high school student that I just thought, I did okay. I did pretty good with this, and I had to justify it in my head. Because, based on high school and experiences and baggage and whether or not I was good enough and all the things. So that was probably one of those moments from high school, was probably it. As a director, there are so many. I know I live a charmed life. I know I do. I know that I have.
That's because you're a pretty little.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. I've waved my magic wand. Duh. I know I live a charmed life. I know I do. I was thinking back the other day, I'm 36, and my band has been to state marching contest 7 times, and we've been finalists 4 times, and we have our first and second. I look at those things, and I worked for those things, right? Like, I didn't just stumble upon them. Like, I worked for them, but there's still times I have to look at myself and go, golly, I did that, and it's not even I did that. We did that. Because that's what it is. It's a we. It's not a me. It's not because I'm the best director in the world, or I'm this or that. I'm the best motivator. Or I can do that. No, it's what we've developed. And so I look back on my incredibly charmed life, and I just go, that's incredible. I don't know if I can name. I mean, I think the obvious one is winning state marching contest. That's a moment. I want to win again. Let me be very blunt and very honest, because I don't think anybody who's ever won is like, nah, I'm good. Nobody wants to say dream come true just once. Nobody just wants once. I think that's the obvious one. And, to have Steven be second with his band at Harper was another wonderful thing to experience at the same time. It just starting from 7 and working your way up. And just hoping because the previous time we were second, and to be second right in the thick of it again. Although there was a thought that crossed my mind. That year, Harper beat us at our first pre-UIL marching contest. They were further along in their show. And then we had some issues that we still hadn't worked out yet. And they beat us at Bastrop. And then we beat them in area prelims, in area finals, and state prelims. And then we got down to us 2. And I said, listen, I love Steven, but I swear, if they beat us at our first and our very last one, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm just going to lose it, right? Like, as much as I love him and I love Sarah and I love what they've developed there, I was going to be so mad. I would eventually get over it, but I was, that happens, and it didn't. We won that year. So it was that moment, I think, is probably the obvious one. But I think I've had students come back who have gone to the military or gone to college or gone to this. And I think the small comments collectively add up to something just as important as that. The idea of, like, one of our favorite kids, who's now getting into med school at Sam Houston State and just doing incredible things. He goes, Mr. Sims, he was a little sixth grade tuba player in Sabino, and he was a mess, dude. He was a mess. His mom told us the first time, she's like, you're going to see a lot of butt crack. You let him know whenever you see his butt crack, and he needs to raise his pants. And she was not lying. Within 5 minutes, we saw this kid's butt crack. I mean, like, nothing fit him quite right. He was just an awkward little kid, and his hair was all over the place. And so in sixth grade band, he would come in every morning, his first period, he would come in and comb his hair and make it look a little better. But he was one of our favorite kids, and he said, he's come back to us and we've talked to him. We still keep in touch. And he said, Mr. Sims, you're the reason why I know how to fold pants the right way. You're the reason that I know how to hang things up and how I have to do things in a sequential order and why it's important. And then I had another kid who went to the Army who led their I don't know the right term. So led their platoon, led their army marching, doing the stuff out front. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't know the exact term. But she's like, because she was a drum major for us. She was actually a 4-year drum major for us. We had 8 through 12. And as an 8th grader, she auditioned to be it, and she got it her freshman year. She was a 4-year drum major for us. And, and some people are like, I'll never have a 4-year drum major. And in a lot of ways, I understand. But sometimes I'm like, every once in a while, there's that kid. She was that kid for us. Still one of the best drum majors we've ever had. And she said, Mr. Sims, I just got up there because she's like, I had already been in so many leadership positions, not only just as a drum major, but just teaching kids how to march and do that. She's like, I wasn't even nervous. I just went and did it. So I think for me as a director, I think the obvious one is winning state marching contests. But I think something that I think is just as important is hearing those little comments from kids that add up to making a difference, making an impact on a kid, a lifelong impact. I think those add up to just as much, if not more, than the obvious one of winning state marching contest.
So speaking of state marching contests, I've watched your shows, and you do like some fantastic things that like a lot of 2As can't do. How do you go about putting together those shows?
Now, whenever you say can't do, are you talking about like musically? Are you talking about thematically? Are you talking about show design? Like what
Yes,
part of that?
all of it.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a lot. Okay.
You give us a spark note.
Okay, spark notes. Okay. I think musically, the idea that we have 2 bands, I think what that does is that allows our top students to become better. So playing harder grade literature, consistently playing 3s with that symphonic band. Every once in a while flirting with a 4. I've never pulled the trigger and actually done it, but like looked at that. So that has helped my tops of my sections get better. But what splitting bands is that bottom band, what that does, that's where the real magic happens, because that students in our second band, they no longer get to hide behind anybody. They no longer get to say, well, Johnny so-and-so is going to play the solo, or Susie's always going to be on first part clarinet, so I don't have to work. By pulling those best kids out, what that does is that exposes our students that are in the middle and bottoms of our section to say, hey, this is on you. Nobody's here to do it. You have to do it on your own. And so musically, I attribute it to that. Not completely right, but like I think that has a big part of it. Whitney and I, going all the way back to Sabino, we have never been the directors to play it safe when it comes to just it's a good show. We want a show to pull at heartstrings. We want a show to be something people go, wow, that's really cool. I loved how they did that. A creative, the clever. We try to do those things. That's just, and I get it. And I know UIL, you got to be clean. I know. I also love that the sheets now add some content to it. I think the content is something that, personally, how we teach, I think the only reason why we've been as high as we have been lately is because of that content score, because judges say, okay, they're not playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. They're doing something harder. They're doing something clever. It's cool how they rope everything all together. And so when it comes to designing that's a staff thing. We don't have a program coordinator. We don't have any of those things. We will usually buy, and I will say this year we're doing something different, which we're also excited about, but it's also a new venture for us. But up to this year, we would buy a show either from Luke McMillan, or the past 2 years, it was from Randall Standridge. And we just kind of make it our own. I mean, Luke kind of got mad at us at one point, Because we would be like, Luke, I need this movement from this show and this movement from this show and this movement from this show, and I want this show. And he's, and he's like, well, I did it. I timed it this way because it's, I want after a certain point to have this big hit and do all these things, and understandably so. And then he's like, sometimes that doesn't work, and I get it. So we just kind of, but we would also completely change the theme, like whatever it was, like, nope, I want to do this. And so that just kind of comes together with just being creative, trying to have an imagination with it, and what would be something that would stand out, not what's not something that you see every 2A doing. And so that's just a creative outlet, that something that I think I do pretty well in, but I also think that Whitney really excels at, is being creative and doing that. And if we did this thing, then what would the guard look like? And what would we, what are the next steps? I think kind of creating what I think what a lot of larger schools do, and rightfully so. If we had the money, I would love to have somebody do it for us, but like, be a program coordinator, do this, do those things, and take off these things off of our plate. So all we have to do is teach, and I would love that. But we just kind of do it on our own, like, we won state marching contest, and we spent probably $2,500 on our show. We had $1,000 music book for all of it. We had $1,200 drill, and we had $300 for like drum major and color guard. We won state marching contest with $2,500 in our whole show. Since then, I think the game has changed a little bit. It's kind of shifted, and I want to be in the room where it happens. So I'm trying to make sure that I shift with it. And so we haven't gone to like $30,000. We are slowly increasing it. And our boosters have been wonderful with that. And so we actually are doing a custom show this year, but we took his music and we're like, man, I just don't know on this theme. And so we made it, and we made it work with kids. And so we're still able to do that. Somebody's just going to take some of the things we normally would have done, and they're going to do it. And that's really nice. So we're excited to teach a little bit more, as opposed to having to solve all the problems. It's going to be really nice. So we're excited about it.
I have been somebody to paint thrones before, which is not generally a fun time. But
we should get one of those to Zach, since he's a pretty little princess.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I already have one, and it's better, so it's gold. It's fine.
Sorry.
Move on. Next question.
I mean, and that's important for people to know. Like, you have to consistently be evolving, and I've said that.
Yes.
It's like, if you don't evolve with like what we are trying to do, you get like left behind. Mm-hmm. And it's just like it's the same thing with like music, as far as like UIL programming. Like,
we just talked about that earlier.
Love going out and finding new music,
new stuff.
New composers and all that kind of stuff. Like, when Omar Thomas came on the scene, it was just like everyone hold on, because he was just doing something just like fantastic that was out of the box and out of the comfort zone for a lot of people. And so like, that was fantastic. And the same thing with John Mackey. Like, John Mackey came in, and it was just like not what everyone was doing. Randall Stanridge.
I was about to say Randall Stanridge.
Like, he was doing things that were just a little bit outside the box, and that's okay. So, I mean, that's great that you're doing that. So being in a small school and being kind of on the push, that takes more demand out of you, out of your staff and your students. Now, you said it yourself, like, Shiner's known as a powerhouse for like all things, period. So how do you go about sharing students between activities?
I think probably the first thing that I would say that we have to do, and we've had to work really hard at, is to take our ego out of it. Because I think, like, 1 year, for the most part, barring this year, and that was tough, right? Not advancing this year. That was not fun. I believe that we've learned from it, or we're moving forward. We're changing stuff to where hopefully that doesn't happen again. We can't always control everything, but we're going to do that. For the most part, our band has been really consistent of being at least at the state level, if not state finals, consistently being there. And so always being somebody like Shiner's here, they're going to have a good band. And so, everything ebbs and flows, right? And so I think taking the ego out of myself, because I know I have an ego. I'm usually pretty good at keeping it in check. Every once in a while, I'll say something like, "Oh, that didn't feel right. That didn't sound right." But recognizing that it's about the students and it's not about me. It's not about our program or not about the result that I hope to get through this year. The idea of just talking about the fact that it's for students. It's a challenge, So like what we do is after our evening rehearsals, we have one night a week that it's an evening rehearsal, and it's either Monday or Tuesday night. It's not consistent each week because on Monday night, we have 8 through 12 in our high school band. On Monday night, we have a conflict of junior high volleyball. On Tuesday night, we have a conflict of high school volleyball. And so what we do is if there's a home volleyball game, we will pick it on that night. So if it's a Monday night, junior high is home, but varsity's or high school's away, we're going to pick it on that Monday night because I will get some of my students that are in volleyball to that rehearsal. Whereas if I picked it always on Monday, I'm going to potentially lose my same students every week and trying to get them caught up. And it's usually my rookie girls. And so it's just a challenge. So being flexible, I think, is important. We also provide a meal and it's nothing elaborate, right? It's sandwiches and chips. And we actually got rid of the chips because the kids were eating like 4 bags of chips and no sandwiches. So we just provide sandwiches and meat and cheese and sandwich, meat, cheese, mayo, and mustard. We'll do that for all of our football kids, all of our volleyball kids, all of our cross country kids that are coming from another event to a band practice. So whatever those kids are, they know. Now, some of their parents pack their meals. Some of them have a 30-minute break where they could go get a meal real fast and come back. Either way, we provide meals for those students because at the end of the day, it's about these students and being able to manage all of the things that they're in. And it's all of them. It's so many things. And in Shiner, not only is it so many things, they're so good at all of them. It's not like, hey, I'm in volleyball, but we're not going to make playoffs. It's expected we're going to make playoffs and go 2, 3, 4 rounds deep every year. That's just the expectation. And so taking my ego out of it and trying to understand that even though I would like to say, no, I need them right now, doesn't work for the students, and also that by not doing that, that means I have a better relationship with all the coaches. And because I have a better relationship with all the coaches, there may be times I really need these kids at this time. And because I've been a good steward of my kids' time and I've been respectful and, a good team player, I have a better chance of actually getting them. I don't hear no as often as I think other people do because I'm always doing my best to be like, yeah, you can have them during this time, or yes, I can do this, or yes, they can leave a little early, or yes, they can come here. It's hard because I want to be like, no, I only get them for one night a week. I need them this whole time. I wish I could do that. And some people try to do that. But for me in Shiner, that would mean I would have a lot of kids that would not be in our program. And it's not worth it for me. So taking the ego out of it and just focusing on the kids, I think is a big deal. And showing kids, listen, I'm trying to be respectful of your time. I'm trying to make sure that you'll have food for the kids who are going crazy and doing more than one event at this time. But also if I say, hey, rehearsal's over at 8:30, I'm over at 8:30. And I'm trying to get kids like in the band hall by 8:30 if I can. That means if I can release by 8:25, 8:27, so that they get back to the band hall, so they're close to out the door at 8:30, I try to. Even though I would love to get one more rep, or I'd love to fix this one set, or I'd love to do those things, trying to be really flexible and put the focus back on the kids. The kids are the ones who are having to do the work, right? We're having to do the work to prep and do all the things, but they're the ones that are physically doing it. So putting the focus back on them and making sure that I'm aware of the fact that this kid, who's given me more attitude than I really want to, has already gone to football practice and just ran at cross country in this coming year, or this other kid who's not putting in the best effort ever, has gone from volleyball straight to cheer and now is here, so like being able to be flexible with them. And it's this fine line between like keeping a really high standard and going, I think my kids are over it. I think my kids are done. I think we've hit a wall with them. I've gotten to a point where like rehearsal went to 9 p.m. But when we get close to contest, just trying to find those extra little bits of time. The first week that we go to our pre-UIL, our rehearsal goes from 6:30 to 8:30. And then the first week of pre-UIL goes 6:30 to 9. just because by that time, that means we're close to finishing drill, close to finishing everything. And so we try to solve that and do that. But there's a lot of times anything after 8:45 doesn't work. Like they're just done. And so I'm aware between 8:30 and 8:45, I'm watching my kids and paying attention to them and going, we've hit it. And finding a stopping point pretty soon with them and making them understand that we're pretty close. And so I'll be like, okay, it's 8:40. I'm trying to let you go at 8:45. I need a really good run of this. I need you to really, really push right now. Dig deep. Find it somewhere. Borrow it from somebody. Find some sort of grit, tenacity, something right now. And I need some mental fortitude and I need a really good run. And 9 times out of 10, they'll do it. And I'll go, that's what I need. Okay, go home. And so focusing on the kids, I think, is something that gets lost because we're focusing on the result as opposed to the fact that we're growing children. We're growing the future, our nation's future. And if we're not aware of the fact that how we speak to them and how we make them feel is, I would argue, just more important than the result, the end result.
So what has been one of the biggest contributor, what has made that culture in Shiner what it is? Has it just been gone back generations? Was there a catalyst at some point in time? Because to say you have that many state championships, that's not a common thing.
No, it's a handful of schools in each UIL classification. It's an elite club for sure. I think we have 4. Is it 4 Lone Star Cups? It's an elite club to be in for sure. I think the first state championship was back in the 80s and it was football. And apparently that was just wild. And so that the town exploded. And from there, it just, and we kind of don't always fit with Shiner, right? There are kids in pre-K that are in tackle football with pads. And we're no, sorry. Lifelong injuries, concussions. No, just they're fine without that. And my oldest son, Hudson, is 2nd grade and he's 7 and he's like, Dad, I want to play football. And I'm like, I know, but no. Middle school will for sure do that. We might do it a year or 2 beforehand just to kind of get him learned into it. But kids are working on fill in the blank, baseball or softball or football or whatever early. It's pretty crazy. Our little league has 32 teams in it. And we're a 2A school. We have a private school, and there are a couple of people from neighboring community and some other stuff. But I guess from kinder to 6th grade, we have 32 T-ball or major or minor teams or coach pitch teams. 32 in the little league overall. It's crazy. I'm that's wild. And people are yeah. And I'm no, really. That's wild. They're well, it's kind of a lot. I'm no, you don't understand. Most people are struggling to get 2, 3, 4 teams, and we have 32. It's just kind of expected. It's just, I don't know what started it, but it's just oh, we're in Shiner, we do baseball. Oh, we're in Shiner, we do softball from an early age. We do this, we do that. It's just kind of the thing to do. And so trying to take a little slice out of that has been a challenge, right? Because it's to get to a state championship and anything requires a culture, requires grit, tenacity, time. And finding kids who are willing to do that is a challenge, especially when they've been working on football since 2 years old, so they can throw a ball and throw it over their head. That's a challenge. That's something that has been something that I've had to make sure and check myself on and make sure that I don't get upset when there are really talented kids that are I want to go focus on this, which I can argue all day long that band doesn't really take away from football or from baseball or softball or fill in the blank. It's extra on top of it, but it doesn't really take away from. I have to check myself and just say, this is what the kid's telling me. This is what they want to do. And I have to pay attention to the kid. And no matter if I disagree with it, there's only so much I can do. So Shiner's just it's a catch-22 because if you don't win a state championship, this year football, we went to the state championship and lost I think other team scored 40 seconds left in the game. We were neck and neck the whole game. 40 seconds left, they scored. People were like, there was no second place, silver medal shirts. There was nothing because we didn't win. There was nothing about it. There wasn't a medal ceremony for getting silver. There wasn't anything. It's like it's gold or nothing. And I'm like, this is wild. This is crazy. Do you like it? But it's just what it is. And it's,
and that's like
crazy.
it's a pro and con. Like, it's like,
for sure.
great, we have all these high expectations. Rap, we have all these high expectations.
We won
Yeah.
state marching contest 2 years ago or 3 years ago. What was it? 2 years ago? 2 years ago. And then we got fourth the year after. And that was devastating. They're like, oh, we didn't have a good year. And I'm like, yeah, we just got fourth in state marching contest. There are only 3 bands in the whole state that would not switch spots with us. Like, what are you talking about? But it wasn't good enough. And it's just like, it's a catch-22. It's pros and cons, right? There's both. So yeah, I see both sides, but it's sometimes it's hard to teach in Shiner. It's tough sometimes. Tough.
Somebody had to be the catalyst, and I'm very interested to know what set that off. So one of the other things is that you're really active in the ATSSB. What are all the things that you've done for the Texas Association of Small School Bands, or Association of Texas Small School Bands? Sorry.
Our region's secretary. I was that last May. I guess maybe the May before last May. It's not been very long. So I'm our region secretary. I have helped with all state when it comes to, I've judged region, area, and state, all the contests. I've also helped at the state level with auditions when it comes to judging them. I've been a sectional teacher for the 3A or the 4A horns. What else have I done? The past 2 years, I've been an organizer for the All-State Band. So this year I was the organizer. Last year I was the apprentice for the All-State Band organizer. So that was a big job. Lots.
Dr.
to do
Wilson
with.
said that you were great, by the way.
Oh, I hope so. God, I was hoping so. Yeah, Dr. Wilson. Woo, I hope so. This was a story. Monday before Team EA started, I was just calling Dr. Wilson. I was like, hey, what else? Is there anything else I'm missing? I got this. And he's like, well, and he was talking about Give Us This Day in Maslanka. And this is one of those memories I'm going to remember for the rest of my career, for sure. And he's like, and the plucked strings on the piano, blah, blah, blah. And I stopped and I was like, he goes, oh, are you telling me that the piano in the rehearsal room is going to be an electric keyboard? And I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, how are we going to get the kids to practice plucking the strings? And I said, I don't know, Dr. Wilson. I don't know that answer, because like, I don't know. And so I called Mr. Griffin, and Mr. Griffin's like, well, how, I can't call him Kenneth. I just can't. It's Mr. Griffin for me.
I totally agree with that. I went and talked to him about something at the general meeting, and I felt so small.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I was saying, Mr. Griffin, there's this issue, and he's going, well, how important is the plucking? Like, how many measures is it? I was like, it's like 5 or 6, and he was like, oh, and so he was like, well, there's this. So I had to call Daryl Umhofer, which, what a last name, right? Umhofer. That's a fun last name.
Well, yeah, that used to be Alexa's boss.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's a stage manager for that. And I was like, okay, we have this one piece. It requires plucked strings. He was like, yes, you can pluck the strings, but he's like, I'm good friends with Eric. I'm like, I can't call him Eric. He's like, I'm good friends with Eric. You let Eric know that I can't take the top off of the piano. And I was like, okay, cool. So I called Dr. Wilson. I was like, okay, Dr. Wilson, here's the deal. Mr. Umhofer said yes with the idea that we don't take off the lid. And I was like, Mr. Griffin's a little concerned with blah, blah, blah. And it was real funny because the next part of the conversation was, well, and it was very clear pretty soon because part of me was like, do we have to have the plucked strings? Because I heard the recording and I was like, they're kind of important. So I was like, how am I going to make it work? And so he was like, well, David, blah, 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 and David, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, he knew him. I was like, he said David and something. I was like, okay, we're going to do it. He needed to say David. And I was like, we're going to do it. So anyway, I had to coordinate getting the clarinet one to the Lila Cockrell on Friday night after the 6A honor band because we had to work out plucking the strings with the clarinet solo. I was like, okay. And so it's supposed to be in percussion 4. And so the percussion organizer, Bana Estes at Thorndale, was like, yeah, we're going to get this kid. He's like, I'm also going to have a backup. I'm going to bring 2 percussionists just in case. Cool. Great. We show up at 9 o'clock. I was a little late. It was like 9:05 and we were doing it and we were looking around and we found the clarinet player. Could not find the percussionists. And we were like, not only 1, but 2. What's the deal? So I was like, just in case, I was like, okay, let me learn it. And I was like, okay, so in order for me to do it, we had to like tape on the inside on the hammers, but real like, what is that? Gaffer tape to make sure it didn't like do anything crazy. And so I had to like tape the notes and I was plucking and I was trying to do it with my finger. And I remember Dr. Wilson said, oh, you're going to need like a guitar string, a guitar pick or a credit card. And I was just like, okay. So I had my room key and I was plucking and I was just like, and it's just like, yeah, I'm a horn player. I don't know what's on the inside of a piano, and so each pitch has 3 tiny, like, who knows this? Some people do. I didn't. And so each pitch has 3 tiny little strings, but there's like no gap between a C and a C sharp. And you have to like oh my God. And it sounds, a minor second is terrible whenever you pluck it in general. So it was just awful. So I worked on it a whole bunch that night. And so the next morning, Vanna went and found the kids and it was like, what are you all supposed to be there? And one kid forgot. And the other kid was like, well, I was down in CC004. I was underneath the stage, but I wasn't on the stage. And we're like, we told you the little, I was like, it's okay. So Dr. Wilson came in that morning and I was like, Dr. Wilson, I'm really sorry. I coordinated this with students. The clarinet player sounds great. But there is no percussionist to do the plucked string part. And he was like, okay. And he was real quiet about it. I was like, however, and I wanted to like not just say however. I was like, however, I also learned the part. Do you want me to play it for you? And he goes, yeah, let's go hear it. And I was like, you're supposed to say no, it's fine without.
Dr. Wilson would never say no to that.
Yeah. Especially, he knew David Muslana. He like knew him. So I was like, oh, he's going to know it. He's going to know if it's really bad too.
Dr. Wilson and I meditated with David Muslana.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So like Alexa went to Midwest with the Baylor, wind ensemble with David.
There's a video, and I need to find this and like post it on the Instagram. We have a video of him doing the cha-cha slide with us after the concert.
That's a moment. That's a moment. So we went backstage and I started plucking it. And of course, the first 2 times I played it for Dr. Wilson, I messed it up. And I was like, oh my God, no, that's a half note. I'm sorry. And the 3rd time he goes, that'll work. He's like, it's a little soft. Can you play it louder? And I was like, oh my God, that means if I play it wrong and I play a wrong note, it's really loud. And I was like, yes, I can. So that 4A symphonic band, we are crowded on that stage. It's a lot of people on that stage. Yep. So the piano couldn't be turned at the right angle. So in order to lift the lid, I can't see him and do it. So Justin Malden had to be on the other side of the piano, like 1 and 2 and 3. And so I could pluck with him, but I was also listening to the clarinet and there's also a trumpet solo. It was just wild. And I got to it and I was just like, it was in measure 10. And I was like, I swear if I mess this up, I think I was the most nervous. 3 years as an all-state horn player, the most nervous I ever was plucking the inside strings of a piano as an adult. Like that was the most nerve-wracking thing I'd ever experienced in my life. Anyways, it's fine. Anyway, that's so great. And then we went a little bit faster than we'd practiced, and I was like, oh, don't miss it, and I did okay. I did fine.
Justin, when the page turned for someone at a recital.
Okay, that was crazy. Yeah. Okay, so they had to have. This was a wild thing because there were 4 people around this piano. There was the person playing the piano, but there was also somebody else who had to like flip their stuff up so the person could strum and do all the stuff inside the piano. So there were 2 people very busy while I was also like in the middle, like waist deep in a piano, making sure I don't miss this stuff. So, I mean, And then Justin over there going 1 and 2. Oh, he's going faster. 3 and 4 and 1 and which was the most chaotic thing. And I made a Division 1 on the pluck strings.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you're welcome. Straight ones from all the judges. And it's really funny. Justin was like, now you're a 4-year-old stater. You plucked. And I said, sure am. Well, you walk backstage and it's like all of ATSSB executive committee is just there. And, I faked like fainting, like coming off the stage. And everyone was like, yes. It was just one of those. It was a wild moment. It was just one of those. Anyway, Dr. Wilson was great. The symphonic band was great. That was just I'll remember that story for the rest of my life. But Dr. Wilson was great. Yeah, I've done a lot for ATSSB, but I have no issue doing a lot for ATSSB because ATSSB has done a lot for me and provided a foundation for me. So I have no issue giving back and giving my time. So
do you have any advice for anybody wanting to get into a ATSSB leadership role or become involved with the ATSSB?
I think you have to start, I think it's the proper chain of command. I think you have to start at your region level. And I think sometimes you just have to say, listen, I want to help. Listen, I want to help. How can I help? Even if that's at the region level, at the auditions, like helping people stuff folders, if you want to be a band organizer at the region level. I think if that's hey, how can I help? I know I've got this role, but what else can I do? Just being incessant about it. How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? I think goes a long way. I think doing that. And I don't have any official leadership roles within ATSSB other than 2 years ago I was the band, or last year I was the band organizer. This year I was the apprentice last year, and then I was the organizer this year. I would hope that one day I do have some official leadership roles in ATSSB, but that hasn't come to fruition yet, but I hope it does. But I think starting small and just showing your region coordinator or directors in your region that you're willing to go above and beyond and put in some extra time, energy, effort, I think is where you have to start. I think you have to start there and be like, hey, do you need some extra hands at solo and ensemble? When my kids are done, can I stay behind and help? Can I help tear down rooms? Being a servant leader, I think is sometimes something that's missed. I think a lot of times with people is it's about them and so how to build themselves up as opposed to how to build your region up, how to build your kids up. How am I going to do a role that's going to make not only myself better, but I have to be a servant leader. I have to help other people as well. And I think that's important.
So I know the band directors listening all over Texas want to know about the relationship between the school district and the brewery that is located in Shiner, Texas.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information on it. That's what's real sad. I know.
We're going to have to go do some research.
I know. Yeah, you're going to have to do a feasibility study. You're going to have to go check. Okay, so it is
the school logo is the same.
No, it's not. We took beer out and we put Comanches. It's not the same. There's no beer in there.
Okay,
we took the beer out. It's Comanches.
It's purple.
It's the exact same thing. We called it a cotton bowl. Throughout all that. It's a strange, it's strange because it is school and alcohol, right? Like they don't mix. And so it is a strange mix of that. So actually there's not a huge amount of overlap. Now, in saying that, we say that the that's a really hard word for me to say, brewery, feels like Shiner ISD TRS, because what happens is when teachers retire, they go work part-time at the brewery and they have a great time. They work 20 hours a week and they do guided tours and you get all the way done with it and they have a blast. So there is a good relationship because they get lots of part-time or full-time workers that are a little older in age that have finished out their teaching career and they go make some extra money. So that's a really great relationship for the brewery and Shiner ISD. But besides that, it kind of has to be separate. Although I very much appreciate everyone supporting our tax base. I do appreciate you very much. And it's also very strange because I know it's sacrilegious to say I moved to Shiner, Texas, and two things. One, I've never been on the brewery tour. I know. I've never been on it. And number two, I'm still waiting. I keep telling everybody, I'm waiting for somebody to say, I'll take you up on it. Let's go. And I'm like, anybody comes, I'll take you on the brewery tour. It'll all be the first for everybody, but I'll do it. Number one. And then number two, I don't drink beer. But they have a distillery now. They have moonshine. They have gin. They have vodka. And there's a fourth one. So I do support that. Yeah, that stuff's pretty good. I can say I've done some research and it's pretty good.
He's done some quality control for that.
Quality control, feasibility study. Absolutely. Yeah.
Be careful. If you're part of the FDA, you'll get fired.
Yeah. Careful. Yeah. I'm not that part of government employee, so we're all good.
Well, Zach, if it wasn't music ed, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. I'm sorry. This is so nerdy. I would be a weatherman. I love weather. I that or like a hydroelectric engineer dealing with like controlling water. Like it's nerd, weird little thing in my backyard. I used to love. Damn. Yeah, no, literally. I used to put this damn guy. I like it. I used to put a water hose on the ground, and I used to figure out mud and like being able to dam it up and do all those things and like cutting water, how to cut trenches and everything else. That stuff. A boy in mud and water, man, I could go for days on that stuff. It's stupid, right? It's dumb. I know it's dumb. I'm not smart enough to do that. Be a hydroelectric engineer. There's no way. I would be a weatherman. I love weather.
I'm not enjoying this weather right now. Apparently they've delayed school for 2 hours and we have contest in 2 weeks.
We found that out like an hour ago.
I'm sorry.
Mid-podcast.
They're fun times.
Yay. Yay. Yeah.
Okay, so
easy.
What is it? What's a guilty pleasure that you have?
Oh, God.
It's obviously not Shiner beer.
Yeah, no. Like food-wise, like
just anything.
I could eat my weight in gold in hot tamales, like the cinnamon candy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I would also be a very skinny person if sugar was not a thing. I would be very skinny.
Okay, what's your favorite pie?
Favorite what?
Pie. Are you a pie or a cake guy?
Does it look like I've skipped either?
Well, I mean, I could say the same thing, but I prefer pie.
Oh.
I think because you prefer pie and because I've honed my pie making, that now I prefer pie.
But what about banana pudding?
I don't make banana pudding very often.
Pudding, but like if you say, hey,
I'm traumatized by the pudding, I can't make it anymore.
The beta fish, death grave,
yeah.
The grave.
Yeah.
Pie.
Good luck with your pudding, Jose.
I like both. I would say I love me a good chess pie. I do, but I also love like any kind of chocolate cake. Triple chocolate, yes. More chocolate on top, yes. Chocolate spoon,
You know what's underrated? Black Forest.
Black Forest.
Very underrated. It's just cherries and chocolate.
Yeah.
See, I don't love that combination. I know. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. I'm not here to yuck your yum.
Yeah. We all make mistakes. I know. That's mine.
Well, which is funny because I've heard you like to pour ketchup on Cheetos.
Oh, that's a little pointed question there. That's a pointed statement. That's what it is. Listen, that's it for me. Yep, it is. Don't knock it till you try it. I'm telling you.
Regular Cheetos or hot Cheetos?
It has to be regular because it
crunchy or puffy?
Crunchy.
I was about to say, the puffy is a different level of...
Not today, Satan. Absolutely not with those puffy ones. No. Now, they're not bad by themselves, but don't put them with ketchup. Absolutely not. That's Satan's work. No.
Okay, how did you discover that combo?
I don't know. My brother and I both did it growing up. I don't know. We both love it. I don't know.
We tried the dill pickle hot Cheetos.
How were they?
They're delicious.
Yeah,
I thought they were.
They're pretty good.
Jose doesn't even like hot stuff.
I'm a bad Mexican in that I don't like spicy food.
Oh, you don't like pica? You don't like something to picas?
No, he does not.
And I've said this, I don't like to pay for my food twice.
What?
Going in and going out.
Oh my God.
I think Jose's stomach is just
I didn't even think about that at all until you said that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that.
He is not.
Something.
I don't think I've ever seen him eat a hot Cheeto
Yeah. Today, and I was
until yesterday.
like eating that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like pouring them down my gullet.
I love hot Cheetos. Yeah, for sure.
I do too. Yeah.
What are we gonna do when they ban the color?
I mean, I'll take a hot Cheeto that's not red. They're probably not going to be orange either, though. So
I know. They'll probably be like blue or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like, are you a fan of
No.
Takis? Do you like Takis?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like Takis too.
I like Takis. There's a weird flavor. It's not the heat from the Takis.
I can only eat
There's a
so
weird
many of them.
flavor that comes with them.
They're like
Maybe it's because I ate them early on.
they're like lime though. They're like
Yeah.
acidic.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Weird.
That's my
Like,
favorite
weird,
combo.
weird, weird.
I like Takis a lot.
Do you remember the like in the I don't know early 2000s, late 90s, the purple and green Heinz ketchup?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you ever eat that?
Yes.
I love
Disgusting.
that stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Absolutely not.
Hey, was it the
Get that
calories
trash out of here. I don't even want to
I-
talk about it. No. No.
What?
It was very pigmented.
Oh,
What's a
man, I was
squirt?
so-
What did they call it? Squirt or something like that?
No, it was the easy squeeze.
Squirt is a soda.
Yes.
Okay, maybe that's what I don't know. It was gross.
Zach, what's something that you wish you could bring back? Like from nostalgia, your child.
I think about this all the time.
God. Maybe Oregon Trail being like a
Me?
real thing.
Oregon Trail being a real.
Oh,
Like
A
I wonder
real
if there's like
thing?
an app. Like an app.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Really? Oh my God, don't tell me. I'm gonna be like, nope, not gonna be a band director. Gonna play Oregon Trail all day long. Yeah, no. Don't tell me. Don't tell me if there is.
It's an online website. It's not even an app. You just Yeah.
Don't tell me
thought
that. I'm not gonna Google that later.
Yeah, you know what I thought?
you're gonna die of
That-
dysentery before the night's over.
Yeah, dysentery. My ox died.
I miss the show Real Monsters.
Okay, hold
I
on.
didn't love that show.
Do you remember
It was okay.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh yes.
Oh
that was a
yeah,
good one.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that
hold
was
on.
something.
excellent show.
Rugrats was pretty great. I loved what was that game show that they had like golden
Legends
Dragon?
of the Hidden Temple.
That's it. Legends of
Yeah.
the Hidden Temple. Yes.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
get behind
yeah.
that coming back. That was some
Anything
good
on
stuff.
Nick.
Yes.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Face on Nick Jr.?
Oh yes.
Mm-mm. I don't remember that
You
one.
don't remember Face?
You guys are a little tiny bit older than me.
Yeah, no.
so that's
like,
probably
I mean, there were 1,000 when.
Gullah
Yeah,
Gullah Island.
yeah, Gullah Gullah. I remember that with the giant frog.
There's Face. Blues, OG
Okay,
Blues Clues.
So we're off topic now. So do you have
the entire
movie-
podcast is based
Yeah,
on
the
being
whole
off
time.
topic.
It's fine.
Do you have a movie series that you could watch, or what's your favorite movie series? Like if you had one movie series just to watch forever, and that was the
Just
only movie
one?
series, just one.
I think Harry Potter is way up there for me. Lord of the Rings. Those are way up there for me. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are both.
I was going to say, this is just
This is
your answer.
yeah. I mean, that's right because
Yeah, I don't know if I could. Oh, I don't know if I had to pick. I don't know. Those two are really high for me. But I was
I don't
also
know
throwing a
my
book
answer.
series that would be different. Is
ooh,
is
what's
Dark
your favorite
Materials
book
was pretty
series?
great. Love that.
Dark Materials. I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't read very often. Partially because I just don't read very often. Just because.
You just tried to blame it on the twins.
Yeah, I almost
Freak.
did. I was like, no, it's not the twins' fault. It's just because I don't read.
You read to them.
Yes, I read to them, but it's like the hungry caterpillar.
Yeah.
They said that today they learned about the life cycle of a butterfly and that pretzels were butterflies and that I think the egg was a marshmallow.
Huh.
So Jonah said something was a chrysalis, but I don't remember what it was. Anyway.
So what is okay? Hopping back on to the band thing. What do you feel like is an undervalued piece of music, and what is a bucket list piece for you?
Piece that I feel like is underrated. Does it have to be on the PML?
No, just any piece.
Okay, hold on. I love Google Sheets. Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna pull this up. I would say one of the pieces that I love playing is Shadows Unleashed by Brian Balmages. That's a good one.
I played that one in the fall.
It is one of those pieces that if you ever do it in an all region band, it's one of the ones they always talk about. Always.
I think that
Always.
in the fear you cave, the cave you fear, The Cave You Fear. It's a Markowski.
Oh,
Like that's
I
another
also
one.
really like Mount Everest. Who wrote it? I can't even remember who. That's always been one of those like philosophically and like musically I would love to do. You
is
know,
that like Yagasawa or something?
Maybe.
I don't know. You know, I love me some good English folk song, sweet Vaughan Williams. You know, like
Yeah.
as a small school, not really ever. You can do certain movements. Along for Legends, pretty great. You know, and some people are like, really, that's it? Yep, that's it. There's some pretty great ones up there. Along for Legends, way up there for me. English folk song suite, just as a bop. I like it. I keep
Mount
coming back
Everest
to
is
it.
Galante.
Oh,
Ooh, Galante's pretty great.
Yeah.
We did Redemption one year by him. That's movie music, awesome. Yeah,
Everything he writes is very cinematic.
yes. The Wishing Well is on the list, and Red Rock Mountain.
Spencer over at Sulphur Springs did a fantastic job.
That was,
It
yeah,
was really,
that was,
really good. So is that one of your bucket list pieces?
Yeah, I would say so.
you know what I want to do that I'll never have an ensemble, well, not for a long time, I guess. I want to do the Omar Thomas Shenandoah.
Yeah.
We just talked about that the other day.
Mm. Yeah.
I want to do Rocky Point.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a good one.
okay.
Yeah. I want to do Rocky Point. That's up there for me.
You know, La Fiesta Mexicana would be
Yeah.
a great one too. Sorry,
I
just
feel like
decided if I was going to say that white or not.
I don't feel like I can do that because it's a little on the nose. It's like
You do it.
it's like playing Children of Sanchez. Like I'm just not going to do it.
You could do it though. It's a fun one.
Okay, so we've also been told that you have a pug obsession.
I do. Yes.
Okay, and we've been deliberately told to ask you about Puggy Sue.
Oh, that was our first baby. Yeah, she was our first girl. She was our first dog that we had before children. She was our first baby. She was something special. Sweet girl, sweet girl. Loving, chill. She was an awesome dog. We had her the last 3 months we were in Sabinal, so she moved over with us and we did all those things. And, you know, she was with us in Shiner and here with us, you know, our babies came home with her. She's way up there on the list of dogs that we've ever had. Sweet girl, the best nurse ever. You know how certain dogs have just an intuition when somebody's sick, they just gotta be next to them and be with them. She was the best nurse. Yeah, Puggy Sue. She was something else. She was my
So
first.
where did the pug obsession come from? Like
You
how bad
know-
is?
God, do you remember Milo and Otis?
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. When they go, here comes the dog, strong and brave. Here comes the dog, your life weak. And they fall in the hole. Oh my God. Like for days, I could just do that over and over again and chuckle every time. Just that they did. Oh yeah, that's it. Yes. Yeah, that's where it starts. Milo and Otis for me. Yeah.
It's just like watching it on Disney, like
Yeah.
when you're like 5 or 6 years old on
Mhm.
repeat
Over
felt
and
like they
over again.
all the time.
Yes. It's a great movie. Classic. Great
It
one.
just kind of evolved from there.
Something about their tails, the little cinnamon roll tails. I don't know. And they're just so dang cute. I don't know. And some people, they're so cute, they're ugly. I'm just like, they're not ugly. I'm not talking about them being ugly.
Don't disrespect them
Yeah,
that way.
Excuse me. I don't know. I love them, and they've got such. It's one thing whenever you've got dogs that are good dogs, loyal. You know, there's nothing wrong with those. But if they've got a blah personality, they're not for me. Like if it's just kind of like they're fine, I don't want them to be fine. I want to have a personality of a dog, and I think I have yet to see a pug that's just kind of there existing. They just got a personality to them. So they just feel more like a human to me because they've got such a big personality and usually kind of up in your face about everything. And they feel like they're bigger than they actually are. I don't know. There's something about them. I really enjoy.
We have a friend named Rudy Liao. He's over at Electra,
Okay.
outside of Wichita Falls. He exclusively owns black pugs.
Oh, okay.
And so that's his whole entire thing.
Got to connect Rudy and Zach.
I know. Y'all
Maybe
can
so.
like
I've
trade
just the two
pug
that we've
pictures.
had are fawn pugs. So I'm not saying anything against black pug. Just the two that we've had have been fawn.
Yeah, I mean, I like dogs like that. Like we have a French bulldog that we were given as a gift.
Yeah.
And so I love bulldogs.
You do love bulldogs.
I do love.
What's your number?
I think it's the same thing. If I didn't have the Frenchie, her name's Maple. If we didn't have Maple, I would probably get a pug. I like.
You said that before too. I wouldn't be surprised if
It's just because
we have a pug at some point in our lives.
and they're like so like attached to whoever their owner
they're
is.
Velcro dogs for sure. You're not going to regret having one.
Yeah. So like one of my best friend, like one of them, our son's middle name is his middle name, Kenny Moss.
I was about to say that works for two different
that
people,
works
depending on which kid it is.
But
But
Kenny, I used to go over to their house because he's a native to Waco, and I've woken up on his couch several times. And one time I woke up and Kenny's mom, I was sleeping on the couch in the living room, and Kenny's mom walks into the living room, goes like, "Oh, hello, Jose." I'm like, "Oh, hello, Mrs. Moss." And they own this pug named Max. Like, I think it was a Maximilian or Maximus.
Maybe so.
It was
Maximus, I can see that.
I think it was both.
Yeah, either or. But like Kenny's mom, Helen, was like God to that dog. It was like, yes, God. And that's the way I always felt, like the little pug face looking up with the big old eyes. It was just like, that is the pinnacle of like pug nature.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like, I'm still hungry. Why haven't you fed me in the last 3 seconds?
Our current dog's name is Dolly, and she's a mess. So the person who's been feeding you all the questions did not talk to you about Dolly. And that's interesting because Whitney has an issue with Dolly because for once, Dolly, that dogs always usually latch onto me. Like that's just usually what happens. Not because I want them, not any of that. They just do. And Dolly latched onto her. And this one is a Velcro, but a Velcro in the fact that she licks your ankles every time she comes by. I mean, like nonstop. She doesn't leave her alone, and it bugs her to death. So you ought to ask her about Dolly instead of Puggy Sue, because Dolly is very much her dog. And she says, "You're the worst dog in the world. You're this. No, that's her dog." So Dolly is our current pug.
Is Dolly named after a certain country singer?
We didn't go as so far as say Dolly Parton, but we think it kind of fits. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hair.
Yeah. 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 We didn't name her Dolly Parton Sims. We just said Dolly Sims, but it's
Dolly Sims. That's all right. We have Waffles and Maple. So we live a big back life. Dogs are named after food groups.
Hey, I don't allow kids to call me big back. I say you must call me a large spine. We're not big backs. We're large spines. Oh, that's such a cute dog.
He's a big boy.
Big boy. So, okay. So you also mentioned that you're really into like destination things. What has been your favorite vacation? And 2, what is your ideal vacation?
Lived a very charmed life. I know I have. I'm not a beach person. I'm just not.
It's okay. I grew up near a beach. It's just like, why is there sand everywhere?
Yes, I can't. Oh, I can't.
Like we did a cruise to the Bahamas for our honeymoon, which like was great because we went scuba diving and all that kind of, not scuba.
Snorkeling. We did not go scuba diving.
We went snorkeling, which was great. But like that's a little bit different in those kind of beaches. But even the Florida beaches don't do it.
That's not the same though, like as Corpus Christi. Sorry,
it's just
but
no, it's fine. It's just like, why am I? What are you? Oh, there's
I'll say this. I'm not a beach person, but Whitney and I went on our 10-year anniversary, went to the Maldives, which is southwest of India. I could go back to that beach because they're all little bitty islands that you have bungalows over the water, and there's like anywhere from 20 to 50 bungalows. Some of them are bigger, but that's it.
I've seen pictures of those.
Beautiful.
Anyway, I would do the Maldives again. That was pretty incredible. My ideal vacation, I think I've already done. We went hiking this last summer in Canada.
Oh.
That was
Did you go to like Banff?
we did. We flew into Calgary and then we hiked around Banff. Although Banff is super touristy, we went a little further. We went out to Lake Louise.
Yeah.
That was otherworldly, Lake Louise. And then we kept going and did all of that around there. We went out to Jasper, Canada. That was pretty up there for me.
We've done Seattle. Seattle's really nice. We've done an Alaskan
Seattle's
cruise.
great. I like Seattle.
I want to go to Yellowstone.
Gosh, that'd be really nice. Yeah. My brother is a huge Star Wars geek, and when he proposed to his girlfriend, now a wife, they went to Italy, and he proposed on the same lake that Anakin proposed to Padme on, where they got married.
It's like Cuomo.
Yeah. It's like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, Chuck, what are you doing? He goes, I got the money. I'm like, all right, man. Sorry. So what's in your ear this week?
A lot of times people ask me, like, what's your favorite music? What do you listen to when you get outside of school? And I'm really boring and vanilla. When I get outside of school, I don't listen to a lot of music because I've dealt with so much sound. I want some silence. I want some downtime of not doing anything. The Wicked soundtrack is still way up on my list of things. And I'm a fan of the original Wicked, but man, this movie, whoo, it did something for me. It did something incredible. I'm a huge fan of the new Wicked soundtrack.
I thought they did it right. They did it right.
Oh gosh. They took the original but made it movie in just the right ways. Yeah. I sobbed like the last Defying Gravity. Oh my God.
The last 15, 20 minutes were just like peak.
Yes. And it never stopped. It just kept coming. It was so good.
Yeah.
Good. So good. We're prepping for UIL, so that stuff's in my head. I'm always working something out in my head on how I'm going to teach it or how I'm going to say it or how I'm going to get that information to the kids. So I'm always working on something in my head, either musically or how I'm going to say it. So I'm nonstop thinking about work. I've gotten better at trying to separate it, but the idea of separating it out completely is something I can't do. I have not been able to just shut it off and be done. And I think that's also hard because Whitney's also a band director. We come home and it's like, well, we have a huge amount of things to talk about outside of band because some people, they live only for their work. We have a wonderful life outside of work, but it's really hard for us to shut it off when we come home. And I know that's not 100% healthy. But I'm thinking about the music that we're playing for contest and how I'm going to phrase that. And I'm already thinking about the things that the kids are probably going to do and which kid is probably going to do it and how I'm going to help that kid not miss that A flat for the third time in a row, and this and this and this and this. So I'm always that. So audibly, there's not a lot in my ear this week, although I wouldn't be mad if I listened to Wicked again, just because it's that good.
Well, I'm going to ask you the band director question. What are you playing for UIL?
I was hoping that was going to be it. I think it was my second year teaching. I went to Team EA with a clipboard and I was like, 6th grade, we're playing this piece and this is why I like it. And we did it all the pieces for 6th grade, all the pieces for 7th grade, all the pieces for high school band. I felt like band director that one year and everybody was like, this is ridiculous. They're like, I kind of want you to do it again though. And I did it the next year and then I stopped. What am I doing for contests? Symphonic band, my high school symphonic band, we're doing Española by Lopez. Feels a little easy for them. I couldn't quite find the right one. Or if I did find the right one, I'm already playing a piece by another composer. So I had to go somewhere else. We're also doing Brave Spirit by Standridge.
Yeah.
Love that one. Good one. Feel like it's a little easy for us, but the kids are just like, no, this is it. So I'm like, okay, we're doing Brave Spirit. And then we're doing Summer Resounding by Val Mages.
I like Summer Resounding.
Yeah.
I love it. I like it a lot. Feels very movie cinema at times.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky in the 6/8.
Oh, for sure.
At the back, yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that one. We very nearly went with Choreography by Sheldon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very nearly went with that, but our kids were like, oh, this is going to take a good amount of individual work. I think I want to do Brace Spirit instead. I was like, okay. 7th grade, what are we doing? We are doing, and that's also challenging. And, a lot of small school directors understand this. I also run the 7th grade band, and do that. So we're going to contests in March. We're doing Infinity March. A
That one's
little
been real
easy.
popular.
Yeah, it's a little easy. I couldn't find the right one. It's like a 1, and I needed like a 1.5, and I couldn't find the right one for them.
Yeah.
And then we're doing Expectations by Clark. That slow step's a challenge. They're doing okay on it. And then we're doing Armory by Standridge. Knock it out of the park. Call it good and go. Yeah, kids love
Early
it.
Stanridge, man. Like we've talked about this before on the podcast, but he's had like a big glow up.
Well, like everything he does, and let's be real, there are some times where it's like, oh, this sounds a little bit like this other piece. But like, they're all bops. They're all vibes. They're all moods. You know what I mean? Like
We were talking about that the other day, specifically with adrenaline engines. And I really feel like you've made it when you've had a piece on the PML that they've since taken off the PML.
Yeah.
Like
I
Fire
also have a problem with pulling a piece off the PML in general. If it was good enough at one point, don't pull it off. Here's the hot take. If it's on the PML, that means somebody felt it was good enough to be on the PML. Leave it on the PML and don't make the decision based on judges who don't want to hear it anymore. You do it for your band.
That's a hot take. I just feel like that's correct.
He just said the thing out loud.
Yeah. Say the weird thing. Say the weird thing. I just said it.
Yeah.
Unapologetically. Yeah.
I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that.
No.
All right.
Because there's not. Not.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great music. It's great music.
Yeah.
If it's a great teaching tool, let us use it.
Sure.
What's Gen Z talking about?
Positive or negative aura right now is a big deal for our kids. Yeah. We're talking about that. The presence that you give off. Positive or negative aura.
Jose's is negative right now.
I've had some negative.
His rehearsal was canceled, and before that, it was already negative.
I was grumpy.
Grumpy.
Yeah, just grumpy sometimes.
He's just an old man. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. Zach, what is a band director mistake that you've made?
Lots of them. Oh my God. One?
Is there one that sticks out to your mind? It, like sticks out just really heavily.
Like immediately. Yeah. It was my first year teaching. It was like in the first 2 weeks of school. There was this pretty crazy family. That were talking a bunch of mess. Like, as in, like, these 3 sisters, one of them got in a fight with another one and pulled hair out from, like, a clump of hair from there at a band rehearsal. I mean, like, it was crazy. I was like, I did not learn about any of this in college. What did I get myself into? I don't know how to handle any of this, right? It was wild. Well, they were talking mess about me, and I got mad. And I was like, I went right up to him and I was like, oh, I hear you're talking shit. Why don't you tell it to my face? And like, whoa, all that stuff. So don't cuss in front of your kids very often. And if you do, you need to apologize pretty quickly. But I didn't apologize because I was like, you're talking shit, huh? Yeah. So
do you have any like advice to like young teachers or people about to get it?
He just gave it.
Don't cuss on your kids.
That was it.
Yeah. Man, I think there are so many people who want to help you. I think there's so many people who've got a wealth of knowledge that may not know that you need help or know that you are desiring or needing a feedback or anything. Reach out to people, call people. There's so many people who are like, yeah, I'd love to help. And, sometimes they're empty words from some people, but I would say for the most part, people are ready to go. People are ready to help. And so reach out to people, even the big wigs, the big names, reach out to them and just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Help. Reach out. There's a great community, especially in small schools. There's a great community of directors that are willing to help.
Yeah.
Is there a mentor you would like to give a shout out to?
Oh, I've given out a lot of them. I can't give a shout out without saying Gerald Babbitt, my student teacher supervisor from Texas Tech. Of course, Ralph Unger, my director from high school. Gerald Bronstad, who was also my assistant band director in high school, who was also my mom's head director in high school. So small world with that. Yeah. John Rauschuber, big deal. Who has been
How do you say his last name?
Rauschuber.
Rauschuber.
Schubert.
Yeah.
I just here's the deal. When I was like young and like everyone didn't know how to say his name, they would just call him
John Fredericksburg.
Nice. How funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Fredericksburg.
I also cannot say it without like a student taught with Manuel Romo. And oh my God, I forgot JD Yonda earlier. He's totally somebody who I called all the time. Oh my God, why didn't I not say his name earlier? He's definitely one who I called. He was one of the rotation. On Monday, I would call this person. On Tuesday, I called this person. On Wednesday, I called. Yeah, he was on my rotation of, I don't know what I'm doing. Help. Yeah, he's great. And that's just an immediate list. There are so many others, like so many others. Within the two-way world, there are just so many great directors that I call often. I call Elliot Ayo at Rivercrest. I call Justin Malden at Sundown. John Bratton, I don't know as well, but he's wonderful and we've had a great time. And I think I'll be calling him more. Brian Sowers over at Tinall. I mean, just great people that are just willing to help. Mandy Keene at Ganado, I call her relatively often. I'm a talker, as you can tell. I like to talk. And so some people like to send emails or text message. I want to physically talk to somebody. And so I like to talk to people. Michael Powers at Thorndale, man, thank goodness we don't have to pay for minutes on our phone. We would we spend lots of time talking. There's lots of people, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody really obvious and important. And I'm so sorry if I'm missing you. I do that often. I call people. Call Wiley Gore a lot. There's the John Shriver. Oh my God, he would have been so mad if I didn't say his name. John would have been a petty, you know what? He would have. Oh, he would have. Oh, he would have been mad at me. Oh my gosh. There's so many. I like calling people. That's my thing. I like calling people, and I'll call and check in on them. Be like, how you doing? You doing okay? Roderick Boyce, who was at Clarksville for a long time. He was a great one to bounce ideas off of. There's lots. I can't. And that's the whole thing of living a charmed life. I have so many people who are in my corner. I have so many people who have helped me along the way, and as much as my work ethic and drive and desire have gotten me there, I've also been propped up by so many people. I can't make a list because that list would be so long, and so many people who are just like, yeah, I'll help out. It's just been phenomenal. I mean, I can't say that without talking about Whitney, my wife. Oh my God. My ride or die, Nicole Baxter out at Lubbock Cooper, and Jane Malloy out in Pearland. God, is it in Pearland? Is that where she lives? She lives real close to Friendswood. It's like one of the ones right next to Friendswood. Southeast Houston. I don't know. It's all too big of a city.
It's a large city.
It's somewhere over there.
Anyway. I mean, and you've done a fantastic job. That's why, if we haven't said congratulations to you and your induction to Phi Beta Mu.
Thank you. Yeah, that's some serious imposter syndrome. Yeah, like that's yeah.
Well, it's well deserved. It's well deserved.
Everyone has told me that, and I still haven't got my brain wrapped around that yet. So I will keep working on it. But it is a dream I didn't know that I wanted. Never was on my radar until I got that call Thursday night saying, congratulations, we need you there Saturday morning, 7 a.m. And then to be sponsored by some of my just best mentors with Gerald Babbitt and JD Yonda and John Rauschuber made it ultra bittersweet. Just an incredible moment. Thank you. It's definitely walking in the room just going, not supposed to be here. Which ballroom am I supposed to? It's not this one. It's definitely not them with all of these. What? Wait, hold on. I am in the. It's very much an imposter syndrome for me. And I know everyone says you deserve it. You earned it. Blah blah blah. Maybe one day I'll get there. Not yet. It's still too surreal. Really, really awesome. Really an incredible honor that didn't know was a thing. And it's just an incredible thing, again, to be propped up by so many people. Incredible, joyous, charmed life. I just live a charmed, blessed life. I say that often, but I really do.
That's, You get back what you put in, and you've definitely done a lot of putting in. So,
Well, thank you.
I mean, it's very evident for us, and they, we're making a point of talking to people that we feel have a very large voice to give to small schools, and you are definitely one of them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, Alexa, you got anything else?
I don't have anything else.
All right, Zach, you have anything else?
Mm-mm. I don't think so. Well, I appreciate y'all for thinking of me. I think it's very much like, hey, you want to be on the Yap? And I was like, what? Okay, sure. And I knew enough to where I was like, that'd be kind of fun. And then you asked, I was like, sure, why not? I could talk for a long time. Absolutely. Do that.
I don't know. I feel like Whitney was really excited for you.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure because I saw her texting a lot. And now that makes more sense.
But yeah, I made sure to get. I was all like, because we you and I are acquaintances and we're friendly, but I don't know you but I
Sure.
feel like Whitney was like my best friend.
Yeah. Oh, you want all the dirt? I'm going to give it all to you. Yeah. Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
Uh,
So, all
maybe
right.
I could reciprocate it one day. Maybe,
Yeah. Yeah. We got to get her on.
Yeah.
maybe so. I'd be down for that.
All right.
Okay.
It's settled then.
There we go.
All right.
She'd be a cool, different, like in the music world, but also got a different perspective. That would be
Yeah.
Yes.
be
Yeah.
cool, different.
Well, that's why earlier I was shocked that she didn't have a music degree. I mean, she definitely has her presence, and that's says a lot. All right. That's all I got.
All right. That's all I got too. Thanks for listening to Band Yap. We'll see you next time.
We out.